Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto awakened the power of the first Jedi, becoming He Sage of Light and Shadow, Naruto x Ahsoka Tano, Star Wars. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Ancient Scroll. Silver moonlight cascaded through gaps in the forest canopy, dappling the undergrowth with ethereal patterns that shifted with each gentle breeze. Naruto. Uzumaki crouched on a moss-covered stone, his breathing measured and controlled, a far cry from the hyperactive child he'd once been. War had changed him. Loss had tempered him. Victory had humbled him. 3 years since Kagaya's defeat. Peace reigned across the shinobi world, yet something restless stirred within him. The dreams had started 6 weeks ago, vivid visions of a temple unlike any in the 5 great nations, where light and darkness swirled in perfect harmony, and a voice that seemed to resonate from within his very chakra called to him. Tonight, he'd finally pinpointed the source, a faint energy signature emanating from deep within the forest of death, pulsing like a heartbeat only he could feel. "You've gotten better at stealth," he said without turning, a small smile playing at his lips as he sensed a familiar presence. "But I could still hear you breathing from 50 meters away, Hinata." The Hyuga heiress stepped into the clearing, moonlight illuminating her features. No longer the shy girl of their academy days, she carried herself with quiet confidence, her pale eyes reflecting starlight. "I wasn't trying to hide from you, Naruto-kun," she replied, her voice soft yet assured. "I was concerned when you left the village without telling anyone." Naruto stood, brushing forest debris from his black and orange jacket. "Sorry. These dreams, they're getting more intense. I need answers." Hinata moved beside him, scanning the forest with her Byakugan. "Then let me help you find them." Her veins bulged gently around her eyes as she extended her visual range, sweeping the forest floor, the tangled canopy, and finally the earth beneath their feet. She gasped, the sound sharp in the night's stillness. "Naruto-kun, there's something beneath us. A structure, but unlike anything I've seen. The chakra patterns are strange, ancient. They almost seem to be flowing in reverse." Naruto nodded, unsurprised yet relieved to have confirmation. "I knew it wasn't just dreams. Show me." They moved deeper into the forest, navigating by Hinata's vision and Naruto's inexplicable sense of direction. The trees grew denser, older, their massive trunks covered in luminescent fungi that cast an otherworldly blue glow across their path. Massive roots created natural archways, and the very air felt charged with potential. "Here," Hinata finally said, stopping before what appeared to be an ordinary hillside covered in ferns and climbing vines. "The entrance is sealed with a chakra pattern I don't recognize." Naruto approached the hillside, pressing his palm against the cool earth. Immediately, warmth spread through his fingers, and beneath his touch, ancient symbols illuminated with golden light, spreading outward like ripples in a pond. The symbols were neither kanji nor any written language he recognized, circular patterns interlocking with straight lines, forming complex mandalas that seemed to shift and breathe. "I know this," he whispered, surprised by his own certainty. "I've seen this in my dreams." Without conscious thought, his fingers traced a specific pattern over the glowing symbols. The earth trembled beneath their feet as the hillside began to reconfigure itself. Soil and stone flowing like water to reveal a passageway descending into darkness. Cool air rushed outward, carrying the scent of something ancient and untouched for centuries. Hinata's hand found his shoulder. "Naruto-kun, we should inform Kakashi-sama. Unknown ruins could contain dangerous artifacts or traps." Naruto considered her words, appreciating her caution. The impulsive boy he'd once been would have charged ahead without a second thought, but experience had taught him wisdom. "You're right," he agreed, creating a shadow clone with a simple hand sign. "Report to the Hokage. Tell him what we've found and that we're conducting initial reconnaissance only." The clone nodded, understanding the unspoken message. They weren't waiting for permission, before disappearing into the forest with remarkable speed. "Just reconnaissance," Hinata repeated with a knowing smile. "No unnecessary risks." "When have I ever taken unnecessary risks?" Naruto asked, the corners of his eyes crinkling with humor. Her laugh, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, was her only response as they stepped into the passageway together. The tunnel descended at a gentle angle, its walls smooth and unmarked for the first 100 meters. As they progressed deeper, geometric patterns began to appear, first subtle indentations in the stone, then more pronounced engravings that periodically caught the light of the small flame Naruto had conjured with a basic fire jutsu. These patterns, Hinata observed, tracing one with delicate fingers, they're conducting chakra, but differently. Almost as if they're designed to purify it, transform it. Naruto felt an inexplicable resonance with the symbols, as though they were half-forgotten words in a language he'd once known intimately. They feel familiar, he admitted. Like something the Sage of Six Paths might have created, but different. The tunnel eventually opened into a vast circular chamber that stole their breath away. The ceiling arched 20 meters overhead, supported by columns of white stone that seemed to glow with inner light. The floor featured an immense mosaic depicting two figures, one radiating golden energy, the other surrounded by shadow, their hands joined to form a perfect circle. Between them floated a symbol, half black, half white, with a dot of each color in the opposite half. It's similar to the yin-yang symbol, Hinata whispered, but not quite the same. At the chamber's center stood a pedestal of dark stone, and atop it rested a scroll case crafted from a metal neither recognized, its surface iridescent, shifting between silver and gold as they approached. This is what's been calling me, Naruto said with absolute certainty, drawn toward the pedestal as if by invisible threads. Hinata activated her Byakugan again, studying the chamber. The entire room is infused with chakra networks, but I don't detect any traps. The scroll itself, Naruto-kun, it's pulsing with energy that seems connected to you. Thin strands of chakra are literally reaching out toward your core. Naruto felt it too, a gentle tugging sensation deep within, where Kurama resided. The Nine Tails had been unusually quiet since the dreams began, observing rather than commenting. It's older than me, Kit, Kurama finally rumbled within Naruto's mindscape. I sense my father's energy, but also, something else. Something not of this world. The Sage of Six Paths had a hand in this, Naruto relayed to Hinata, but Kurama says there's something more. He stepped forward, standing before the pedestal. Ancient glyphs encircled its base, glowing brighter as he approached. Carefully, respectfully, he reached for the scroll case. The moment his fingers touched the metal, a shockwave of pure energy pulsed outward, rippling through the chamber. The mosaic beneath their feet illuminated, each tile shimmering with inner light. The air grew thick with power, and for a brief moment, Naruto glimpsed overlapping realities, stars and planets, vast cosmic distances, and somewhere impossibly far yet suddenly near, a presence that noticed his awareness and reacted with surprise. The sensation passed as quickly as it had come, leaving him holding the scroll case, which had unsealed at his touch. Inside was a scroll unlike any he'd seen, not paper or parchment, but a material that resembled solidified light. Flexible yet seemingly indestructible. Are you all right? Hinata asked, concern evident in her voice. She'd moved to his side, one hand hovering near his arm, ready to steady him if needed. Yeah, he assured her, though his heartbeat still raced. Something happened when I touched it. Something big. With reverent care, he unrolled the scroll upon the pedestal. Symbols appeared on its surface, some resembling kanji, others completely foreign, flowing and shifting like living things. As he watched, the symbols rearranged themselves, transforming into readable text before his eyes. To the one who awakens this knowledge, I offer the wisdom of worlds beyond worlds, Naruto read aloud, the words resonating deeply within him. I am Kenshin Uzumaki, last survivor of Uzumaki fall, who walked between dimensions and became known in another realm as the first Jedi. Hinata gasped softly, Uzumaki, your clan. Naruto nodded, continuing to read as the text revealed itself. In my journey between worlds, I discovered that chakra and what they call the Force are but different manifestations of the same cosmic energy. What shinobi channel? Through hand signs and internal networks, they channel through meditation and connection to all living things. The scroll detailed how Kenshin, a seal master of unprecedented skill, had accidental. Why triggered a dimensional rift while attempting to create a space-time ninjutsu to escape Uzumaki destruction. He'd found himself in a galaxy far beyond their own, where he eventually established the Jedi Order, teaching others to harness the Force, though never revealing the chakra techniques of his homeworld. The Sage of Six Paths foretold that someday, when both worlds face a common threat, a child of two lineages would arise, one who could harness both chakra and the Force in perfect harmony. The Sage of Light and Shadow will bridge dimensions, standing as guardian of both realms. As Naruto read these words, the scroll began to glow with blinding intensity. Golden light spiraled around his arms, sinking into his skin like liquid sunshine. Simultaneously, tendrils of shadow wrapped around his legs, cool but not unpleasant, merging with his chakra network. Naruto-kun, Hinata cried out, her Byakugan active as she witnessed the extraordinary transformation occurring within him. Inside his mindscape, Kurama roared, not in pain or anger, but in recognition. Kit, this power, it's reshaping your chakra pathways, creating new ones. It's compatible with my energy, enhancing it somehow. Naruto remained calm despite the overwhelming sensations coursing through him. The light and shadow energies weren't fighting for dominance but seeking balance, yin and yang, push and pull. Life and death, aspects of a greater whole. When the glow finally subsided, Naruto stood transformed. No physical change was immediately apparent, but he felt fundamentally altered, as though he'd been a musical instrument only partially tuned and now every string vibrated in perfect harmony. I feel, he began, struggling to find adequate words, complete. Like I've found something I never knew was missing. Hinata studied him with her Byakugan. Your chakra network has changed. There are new pathways I've never seen before, and your energy signature has expanded somehow. It's still you, but more. Naruto extended his hand, curious to test this new power. Without hand signs or conscious molding of chakra, he focused on the air above his palm. Particles of light gathered, coalescing into a perfect sphere that resembled a Rasengan but wasn't formed of wind or chakra. It was pure energy, neither destructive nor healing, simply potential waiting to be directed. The Force, he whispered, instinctively knowing what he'd created. The sphere hovered above his palm, responding to his thoughts rather than physical control. With a gentle mental push, he sent it floating across the chamber, where it illuminated ancient carvings previously hidden in shadow. This is just the beginning, he said, feeling knowledge unfold within his mind like a flower blooming in accelerated time. The scroll contains training methods, techniques, history. His words cut short as a violent tremor shook the chamber, dust and small stones raining from the ceiling. The energy sphere dissipated as his concentration broke. Something's happening, Hinata said, scanning their surroundings. The chakra networks in the walls are destabilizing. Naruto-kun, I think your awakening triggered something. Another, stronger tremor rocked the chamber. One of the support columns cracked, a jagged line spreading from floor to ceiling. We need to leave, Naruto decided, quickly resealing the scroll and securing it within his jacket. The knowledge is safe. We can study it once we're. The air before them shimmered, distorting like heat waves above summer roads. A sound like tearing fabric echoed through the chamber as space itself seemed to split open, revealing a swirling vortex of stars and cosmic energy. Naruto instinctively stepped in front of Hinata, raising a protective arm as the vortex expanded. Through their connection, he felt Kurama's chakra surge in readiness, even as his newly awakened Force senses screamed warnings of dimensional instability. From within the vortex emerged a figure, humanoid but clearly not human, her orange skin marked with distinctive white patterns, head adorned with blue and white striped head tails rather than hair. She wielded twin blades of pure energy, one white, one green, that hummed with power as she dropped into a defensive stance, her movements fluid and precise. Their eyes met across the chaotic space between dimensions, brilliant blue finding determined azure, and Naruto felt an instant, inexplicable connection, as though destiny itself had arranged this meeting. The woman spoke, her voice accented but clear, "Who are you? And what have you done with the Force?" Before Naruto could respond, the vortex behind her pulsed violently, expanding outward. The injured column finally gave way with a thunderous crack. The ceiling began to collapse as the dimensional rift destabilized further. Acting on instinct and newfound power, Naruto reached out both physically and through the Force. Massive chunks of falling stone, He froze in midair as he held them aloft through sheer willpower, creating a protective dome around them all. Explanations later, he called to the mysterious woman. Right now, we need to escape. Follow me if you want to live. To his surprise, she immediately extinguished one energy blade, extending her free hand toward the largest section of collapsing ceiling. Together, their combined power stabilized the chamber long enough for Hinata to locate the safest escape route. This way, Hinata called, already moving toward a previously hidden side passage revealed by the structural damage. They retreated through the passage as the chamber collapsed behind them, Naruto bringing up the rear, using both chakra and force energy to slow the destruction long enough for their escape. The tunnel sloped sharply upward, winding through solid bedrock before finally emerging onto a forested hillside half a kilometer from their original entry point. Dawn had broken during their underground exploration, painting the sky in watercolor hues of pink and gold. They stood in momentary silence, catching their breath as dust settled behind them and birds cautiously resumed morning songs in nearby trees. The mysterious woman deactivated her remaining energy blade, clipping the hilt to her belt with practiced ease. Up close, Naruto could see she was young, perhaps his age or slightly older, with distinctive facial markings and an expression that balanced wariness with curiosity. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he offered, deciding directness was the best approach. This is Hinata Hyuga, and you are. The woman straightened, her posture revealing military training tempered with a certain independent fluidity. Ahsoka Tano, she replied, her accent unfamiliar yet somehow comprehensible. Former Jedi Knight, now I go my own way. Naruto's heart skipped a beat at the word Jedi, confirmation that the scroll's incredible claims were true. Jedi, like the order founded by Kenshin Uzumaki. Ahsoka's eyes widened in genuine surprise. You know of the first Jedi. But how? This planet isn't in any Republic or Imperial records. I was tracking a force anomaly when my ship was caught in some kind of hyperspace distortion. It's a long story, Naruto said, feeling the weight of the scroll against his chest. And I think I just learned the first chapter of it. But more importantly, you're from another dimension, another galaxy, and somehow, I just brought you here. Hinata, who had been quietly observing their exchange, spoke up. We should return to Konoha. Kakashi-sama needs to be informed of these developments, and she glanced at Ahsoka with a diplomatic smile. Our visitor will need proper accommodation. Ahsoka's hand drifted back toward her weapon. I'm not going anywhere until I understand what's happening. The force disturbance I detected was unprecedented, powerful enough to register across half the galaxy. If that was you, she nodded toward Naruto, then I need to know exactly what you did and why. Naruto sensed her unease. Not fear, but the careful assessment of a warrior in unfamiliar territory. He raised his hands in a universal gesture of peace. My word as a shinobi of Konohagakure that no harm will come to you under my protection. What I discovered in that chamber affects both our worlds, and I think we're going to need each other's help to understand it. He offered a small, genuine smile. Besides, I've got about 1,000 questions about the Jedi and this force power that apparently I've tapped into. Something in his straightforward sincerity seemed to reach Ahsoka. Her posture relaxed fractionally, though her eyes remained alert. You held up a collapsing ceiling without training, she observed. That level of raw power is, she hesitated, choosing her words carefully, concerning. Especially with what I've seen untrained force sensitives become. Then train me, Naruto suggested simply. I learn best by doing anyway. And in return, I can teach you about chakra and this world. A flash of amusement crossed Ahsoka's features. You remind me of someone I used to know. Rushing into situations without a plan, making friends with potential enemies. Offering trust before it's earned. Did it work for them? Naruto asked with a hint of his old mischievous grin. More often than you'd expect, she admitted. The ghost of a smile playing at her lips. Their exchange was interrupted by the arrival of masked Anbu shinobi, materializing from the surrounding forest with silent efficiency. Their leader, wearing a wolf mask, addressed Naruto with formal respect. Uzumaki-san, the Hokage requests your immediate presence, along with Hyuga-san and your guest. Naruto nodded, unsurprised by their arrival. We were just heading back Tell Kakashi-sensei we've made a discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about the Sage of Six Paths, and possibly the future of our world. The Anbu captain tilted his head slightly, the only indication of his interest, before signaling his team to escort them back to the village. As they traveled through the forest canopy, Ahsoka adapting quickly to their tree-hopping mode of transportation with impressive agility, Naruto found himself studying their mysterious visitor. There was something compelling about her presence, a combination of hardened warrior and wounded soul that resonated with his own experiences. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had faced darkness and emerged stronger, yet there was a hint of isolation in her eyes that he recognized all too well. Konoha appeared on the horizon, morning sunlight gleaming off the Hokage monument and the rebuilt structures that had risen from Pain's destruction years ago. Naruto felt a surge of protectiveness for his home alongside a new, strange awareness of its place in a much larger cosmos. "Welcome to Konohagakure," he said to Ahsoka as they approached the massive gates. "It's not a galaxy far, far away, but it's home." She surveyed the village with trained eyes, taking in defensive positions, architectural styles, and population density in a single sweeping glance. "It's not what I expected," she admitted. "Your technology level seems pre-industrial, yet you manipulated energy with techniques that would impress many Jedi Masters." Chakra, Hinata, explained as they passed through the gates, nodding respectfully to the eternal gatekeepers, Izumo and Katetsu. Life energy that flows through all living things, but which shinobi have learned to mold and shape through training and hand signs. Not unlike the Force, Ahsoka mused, drawing curious stares from villagers as they made their way toward the Hokage Tower. "Though we don't use physical movements to channel it, typically." Naruto listened to their exchange, fascinated by the parallels between these seemingly separate power systems. The scroll's assertion that chakra and the Force air variations of the same cosmic energy made increasing sense. "The cub's arrival changes everything," Kurama commented within Naruto's mindscape. "She carries power different from chakra, yet fundamentally compatible. I sense great potential, and great danger." "Danger from her?" Naruto silently questioned. "Number, Kurama replied after a moment's consideration. "Danger from what her presence represents. Dimensions were never meant to intersect this way. There will be consequences." The Hokage Tower stood at the village center, a symbol of leadership and stability through generations of conflict and peace. As they climbed the spiral staircase to Kakashi's office, Naruto felt the weight of responsibility settling more firmly upon his shoulders. Whatever had begun in that ancient chamber, he was now irrevocably part of it. Kakashi Hatake, 6th Hokage of Konohagakure, sat behind his desk reviewing reports when they entered. His visible eye crinkled in what might have been a smile beneath his ever-present mask as he set aside his paperwork. "Naruto, Hinata," he greeted them warmly before his gaze settled on Ahsoka with sharp interest. "And you've brought a guest I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting." Naruto performed introductions, watching his former sensei carefully for reactions as he explained the incredible circumstances of their meeting. "Kaka," she revealed nothing beyond polite attention, though Naruto suspected his analytical mind was processing every detail with characteristic thoroughness. When Naruto produced the scroll, however, even Kakashi's legendary composure faltered momentarily. He leaned forward, visible eye widening as he recognized the significance of the artifact. "May I?" he asked, extending a hand. Naruto hesitated, feeling an unexpected possessiveness toward the scroll. "It responds to Uzumaki blood and chakra," he explained, unsure how he knew this with such certainty. "I can show you its contents, but it chose you," Kakashi finished, withdrawing his hand with understanding. "Just like the Sage of Six Paths chose you during the war. Some patterns repeat themselves, it seems." Naruto unrolled the scroll carefully on Kakashi's desk, revealing contents that now appeared as standard written language to everyone present. For the next hour, they reviewed the extraordinary historical account of Kenshin Uzumaki, the dimensional traveler who became the first Jedi. According to the scroll, Kenshin had established the Jedi Order with principles drawn from shinobi wisdom but adapted to the nature of the Force and the needs of a galaxy-spanning civilization. He had foreseen that someday the dimensions would align again, necessitating a bridge between worlds, someone capable of wielding both chakra and the Force. The Sage of Light and Shadow, Ahsoka murmured, studying the ancient prophecy. We have legends of a chosen one who would bring balance to the Force, but nothing like this. Prophecies have a way of intertwining, Kakashi observed thoughtfully. Perhaps they refer to aspects of the same cosmic balance. Throughout their discussion, Naruto noticed Ahsoka's gradual shift from suspicious outsider to engaged participant. Her knowledge of Jedi history provided context for the scroll's more esoteric references, while her practical understanding of the Force helped explain the new energies Naruto had accessed. The scroll mentions training methods, Naruto said, turning to a section filled with diagrams. Techniques for harmonizing chakra and Force energy. These are similar to basic Jedi training exercises. Ahsoka confirmed, but with elements I've never seen before. This integration of physical and spiritual energy pathways. Kenshin was trying to create a perfect synthesis, Hinata observed. Her Byakugan active as she studied the diagrams. Not just using both powers separately, but truly merging them into something new. Kakashi sighed, leaning back in his chair. As fascinating as this is, and believe me, it is fascinating, we need to address immediate concerns. Ahsoka-san, you've been brought to our world through no fault of your own. While we determine if return is possible, you'll need accommodations and orientation. I have room at my place, Naruto offered immediately, earning a raised eyebrow from Kakashi and a subtle blush from Hinata. Ahsoka crossed her arms. I appreciate the offer, but I prefer independence. My ship should have materialized somewhere in this dimension if the physical laws I understand still apply. Your ship? Kakashi inquired. My starfighter, she clarified. Small spacecraft, about the size of this office. It contains equipment I could use to better understand the dimensional rift and possibly communicate with my galaxy. Naruto exchanged glances with Kakashi, both recognizing the strategic importance of recovering advanced technology before it fell into potentially dangerous hands. We'll organize search parties immediately, Kakashi decided. In the meantime, we can arrange temporary quarters for you within the village. I'll help with the search, Naruto volunteered. I might be able to sense the ship through this Force connection now. And I'll assist Ahsoka-san with accommodations, Hinata offered diplomatically. Kakashi nodded approval. Very well, Naruto, I'm assigning you as Konoha's official liaison to our interdimensional visitor. Your primary mission is to master these new abilities while helping Ahsoka-san acclimate to our world. His eye crinkled with humor. Cons. Either it an A- rank diplomatic mission with interdimensional implications. No pressure, Naruto muttered, though he couldn't suppress a grin at the challenge. As they prepared to leave, Kakashi added, oh, and Naruto. Let's keep the specifics of this situation contained for now. An official statement will be prepared once we better understand what we're dealing with. Outside the Hokage Tower, the day had progressed to late morning. The village bustling with its usual activities, oblivious to the cosmic significance of what had transpired. I'll organize search teams with Kiba and Shino, Hinata suggested. Their tracking abilities should help locate the ship quickly. Naruto nodded gratefully. Thanks, Hinata. I think I should start working with these new abilities right away. The sooner I understand them, the better I can handle whatever comes next. Ahsoka studied him with renewed interest. You access tremendous power with minimal training. That's rare, and potentially dangerous. I've seen what happens when Force sensitives rush their development without proper guidance. Then guide me, Naruto challenged directly. You said you're not a Jedi anymore, but you obviously know their ways. Help me understand what I've awakened before I accidentally tear another hole between dimensions. Their eyes locked in silent assessment, her experience and caution meeting his determination and potential. Finally, Ahsoka gave a slight nod. Basic control exercises first, she conceded. Somewhere quiet, away from distractions. The Hokage Monument, Naruto suggested. The view helps me think. And no one will disturb us there. After arranging to meet Hinata later with news of the ship search, they made their way to the massive cliff face bearing the carved visages of Konoha's leaders. They settled on the fourth Hokage's stone head, a choice Ahsoka couldn't have known carried emotional significance for Naruto as his father's memorial. The village spread below them, peaceful and ordinary, while they embarked on something unprecedented. Sitting cross-legged facing each other, Ahsoka began with fundamental force meditation techniques. Close your eyes, she instructed. Focus on your breathing first. Then gradually expand your awareness outward. Feel the life energy around you without trying to control it. Naruto, accustomed to sage training that required similar concentration, slipped easily into the meditative state. As his awareness expanded, however, he discovered profound differences. Where sage mode connected him to natural energy in a structured, methodical way. The force flowed through him more intuitively, responding to emotion and intent rather than specific chakra molding. You're catching on quickly, Ahsoka observed after 30 minutes of progressive exercises. Now, try reaching out with your feelings. Sense the village below us, not just seeing with your mind, but feeling the connections between all living things. Naruto extended his consciousness as directed, expecting something similar to his sensory abilities. Instead, he experienced a revelation: thousands of lives below, each a unique presence in the Force, connected by invisible threads of relationship and shared experience. More than just detecting chakra signatures, he could sense emotions, intentions, the very fabric of community that bound Konoha together. It's beautiful, he whispered, eyes still closed. Different from sage sensing, more complete somehow. That's the living force, Ahsoka explained. It flows through all life, connecting everything. The cosmic force is what binds the universe together across time and space. That's what you touched when you opened the dimensional rift. Naruto opened his eyes, finding Ahsoka watching him with newfound respect. I didn't mean to create the rift, he admitted. It just happened when the scroll's power activated. Intention matters less than consequence in matters of the Force, she replied, not unkindly. But your natural affinity is remarkable. Most initiates take months to achieve the level of awareness you've demonstrated today. Naruto grinned, rubbing the back of his head in a gesture of modest embarrassment. I've always been a fast learner with the right teacher. And I've had experience with different energy systems: Sage Chakra, Kurama's power. Kurama? Ahsoka questioned. Naruto hesitated, then decided on honesty. The nine-tailed fox spirit sealed within me at birth. We're partners now, but it's a long story. To his surprise, Ahsoka accepted this revelation without shock. I sense the dual nature of your energy. It explains your unusual force signature, like two beings in harmony. Their training continued through midday, progressing from basic Awareness SS to simple force manipulation, lifting small stones, sensing emotions from a distance, and the beginnings of energy control. Naruto absorbed the teachings eagerly, his natural talent for unorthodox learning serving him well. As afternoon shadows lengthened across the monument, they were interrupted by a messenger bird circling overhead. Naruto extended his arm, allowing the bird to land and deliver its small scroll. They've found your ship, he announced after reading the message. About 20 kilometers northeast of the village, in a clearing within the forest. Hinata says it appears intact. Relief visibly washed over Ahsoka's features. That's excellent news. My astromech droid might have already run diagnostics on the dimensional anomaly. Your droid? Naruto asked, the unfamiliar word catching his attention. Mechanical assistant, she explained, rising fluidly to her feet. R7 is programmed for navigation and ship maintenance, but he's resourceful in unexpected situations. Naruto nodded as though this made perfect sense, though the concept of sentient machinery was entirely foreign to him. We can head there now if you'd like. I can use Sage mode to travel faster. Lead the way, Ahsoka agreed, clearly eager to reconnect with something familiar from her world. They traveled swiftly through the forest, Naruto in Sage mode and Ahsoka keeping pace with Impri. SSIVE agility enhanced by force techniques. Neither spoke much during the journey, but the silence was comfortable, the understanding of two warriors focused on the task at hand. As they approached the coordinates, Naruto sensed the search team's chakra signatures and something else, an energy pattern unlike anything he'd encountered before, mechanical yet somehow alive in the force. They emerged into a substantial clearing where a sleek vessel of unfamiliar design rested on scorched grass. Its aerodynamic form and metallic surface gleamed in the late afternoon sunlight, clearly designed for speeds beyond anything Naruto had imagined possible. Beside it stood Hinata, Kiba, Shino, and several Anbu operatives maintaining a careful perimeter. More surprising was the small, cylindrical Machin that rolled back and forth near the ship, emitting a series of beeping sounds that somehow conveyed agitation even without words. Its domed head swiveled toward them as they entered the clearing, the beeping immediately shifted to what Naruto could only interpret as relief. R7. Ahsoka called, quickening her pace. Run a system diagnostic. Is the hyperdrive intact? The droid, R7, apparently, responded with an elaborate series of electronic whistles and tones that meant nothing to Naruto but which Ahsoka seemed to understand perfectly. Partial functionality is better than none, she replied to the mechanical sounds. Focus on communications and navigational systems for now. Hinata approached them, her expression carefully neutral despite the extraordinary circumstances. The vessel appears undamaged, though we've maintained distance as you requested, Kakashi-sama. Naruto noticed Kiba staring at Ahsoka with undisguised curiosity, while Shino observed the droid with scientific interest. The Anbu remained professionally impassive, though their attention never wavered from the potentially threatening unknown technology. Thank you for finding my ship, Ahsoka addressed them all with diplomatic grace. I assure you it poses no threat to your village. Says the alien with laser swords, Kiba muttered, earning a subtle elbow from Hinata. Ahsoka's lips twitched with suppressed amusement. Lightsabers, she corrected mildly. And I understand your caution. I'd feel the same if a stranger appeared in my world with unfamiliar weapons. Her straightforward acknowledgement seemed to ease tension slightly. Naruto stepped forward, assuming his role as liaison. Ahsoka is here because of something I activated, he explained to his friends. She's helping me understand new abilities that are connected to an ancient Uzumaki who traveled to her dimension centuries ago. This simplified explanation raised more questions than it answered, judging by his companion's expressions, but Naruto pressed on. Kakashi-sensei has assigned me to work with her while we figure out the dimensional rift situation. For now, her ship needs to be secured somewhere private. Shino spoke for the first time, his deep voice thoughtful behind his high collar. The old Uzumaki compound has sufficient space and privacy. It would be symbolically appropriate given the Uzumaki connection to these events. Naruto blinked in surprise. There's an Uzumaki compound. A small one, yes, Hinata confirmed. It was abandoned after Uzushiogakure's fall, but the property remains under your clan name. I could show you its location. Another piece of heritage Naruto hadn't known existed. The day seemed determined to reshape his understanding of his own identity in multiple ways. That would be perfect, he agreed, feeling a strange emotional resonance at the thought of bringing this Uzumaki legacy full circle. Can the ship be moved there without attracting too much attention? We can create a barrier genjutsu to conceal it during transport, one of the Anbu suggested. With your permission, Uzumaki-san. Naruto nodded, still adjusting to being addressed with such respect by elite shinobi. Let's do it. As preparations began for moving the starfighter, Ahsoka conferred with her droid, occasionally glancing toward Naruto with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. Finally, she approached him. Lowering her voice, R7 has analyzed the dimensional energy signature. The rift is still active on a quantum level, thin, but persistent. It's why I can still feel connections to my galaxy through the Force. Is that good or bad? Naruto asked. Both, she admitted. It means return might be possible eventually, but it also means the barrier between dimensions remains weakened. If others discover the pathway, she didn't need to finish the thought. Naruto could imagine the catastrophic possibilities if someone like the Otsutsuki, or whatever threats existed in Ahsoka's galaxy, discovered a way to cross dimensions at will. Then we need to understand this power quickly, he concluded. Master it well enough to control the pathways, not just stumble through them accidentally. Ahsoka studied him thoughtfully. You accept responsibility easily for someone so young. Naruto shrugged, a hint of his old carefree grin breaking through. I've had practice. Saving the world becomes a habit after the first couple times. Her answering smile held genuine warmth tinged with something like recognition. You really do remind me of my old master. Though hopefully with better impulse control. As evening approached, they successfully relocated the ship to the previously unknown Uzumaki compound, a modest walled property on Konoha's eastern edge that had fallen into disrepair through decades of abandonment. Despite its condition, the compound retained traces of its former dignity. Faded spiral emblems adorned weathered stone gates, and overgrown gardens hinted at once careful design. Naruto stood in what must have been the central courtyard, emotions conflicting as he surveyed this tangible connection to his mother's clan. Joy at discovering another piece of his heritage mingled with sadness for the family he'd never known and the legacy left untended. Your clan valued knowledge, Ahsoka observed, examining faded ceiling arrays carved into courtyard stones. These patterns remind me of ancient Jedi training grounds on Tython. The Uzumaki were renowned for sealing techniques, Hinata explained, having remained to help establish the compound as their base of operations. Their abilities were so feared that enemies united to destroy Uzumaki during the war era. Naruto crouched, tracing a spiral pattern with his fingers. As he channeled a hint of chakra into the stone, the seals illuminated briefly before fading again. It needs Uzumaki blood to properly activate, he murmured, instinctively understanding the mechanism. Withdrawing the kunai, he pricked his thumb, allowing a drop of blood to fall onto the central spiral. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Concentric circles of light spread outward through the entire courtyard, illuminating long dormant ceiling arrays. The compound seemed to awaken around them as decades of dust and decay fell away, revealing polished stone and intact structures previously hidden by deterioration. A preservation seal matrix, Naruto realized, the knowledge appearing in his mind as though he'd always known it. The compound wasn't abandoned, it was sealed, waiting for Uzumaki blood to return. As night fell, they explored the revitalized compound by the light of ancient seals that now glowed with steady illumination. The main house contained living quarters, a library filled with scrolls on sealing techniques, and a large training area. Smaller buildings surrounded the courtyard, including a workshop where Ahsoka's ship now rested, shielded from outside detection by layers of both Uzumaki seals and Anbu protection. In the library, Naruto discovered personal journals from distant relatives, Uzumaki clan members who had maintained the Konoha compound as an embassy of sorts between villages. The most recent entries dated from shortly before Uzumaki destruction, suggesting the compound had indeed been deliberately sealed rather than simply abandoned. Your clan planned for survival, Ahsoka noted as Naruto shared his findings. They created safe havens anticipating possible destruction. Just like Kenshin did when he created the Jedi Order, Naruto realized. Preserving knowledge across dimensions. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft knock at the library entrance. Kakashi stood there, accompanied by Shikamaru Nara, whose sharp eyes took in the activated compound with analytical interest. I see you've claimed your inheritance, Kakashi observed with approval. The village elders nearly had collective heart failure when the Uzumaki seals activated after all these years. Some of them remembered your mother maintaining them before. He trailed off, but Naruto understood the unspoken reference to the Nine Tails attack that had claimed his parents' lives. Troublesome, Shikamaru commented, though his expression suggested he found the situation more intriguing than annoying. Dimensional travelers, ancient prophecies, and now resurrected compounds. You never do anything halfway, do you, Naruto? Where would be the fun in that? Naruto replied with a grin. Kakashi cleared his throat. I've brought Shikamaru because we need to develop a strategic approach to this situation. If interdimensional travel is now possible, we need to understand the implications and prepare accordingly. For the next several hours, they fared in the compound's council room, a space designed for clan meetings that now served as their planning center. Shikamaru's brilliant strategic mind quickly grasped the potential threats and opportunities presented by this development, while Kakashi's experience provided practical perspective on immediate concerns. Ahsoka contributed insights on her galaxy's political situation, the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, and her own status as a hunted former Jedi. Her description of galaxy-spanning conflicts and planet-destroying weapons sobered even Shikamaru, highlighting the potential dangers of unrestricted dimensional access. If the Empire discovered a path to a world rich in chakra users, she began. Or if someone like Orochimaru gained access to your technology, Shikamaru countered. Neither scenario ends well, Kakashi concluded. Which means our priority must be understanding and controlling these dimensional pathways before others discover them. They developed a three-part strategy. First, Naruto would focus on mastering his new abilities under Ahsoka's guidance, learning to control the dimensional energy rather than simply channel it. Second, research. Teams would study both the ancient scroll and the Uzumaki library for additional insights into Kenshin's discoveries. Third, defensive preparations would begin quietly, with selected shinobi briefed on potential interdimensional threats. We should also consider potential allies in Ahsoka's galaxy, Naruto suggested. If Kenshin founded the Jedi Order, they might be natural allies against common enemies. A shadow crossed Ahsoka's face. The Jedi Order has fallen. Those who survived the purge are in hiding or dead. The allies you seek would be scattered resistance fighters, not organized forces. The weight of her words settled over the room. Naruto studied her expression, recognizing the pain of someone who had lost their home and community, a pain he understood intimately from his own childhood isolation. Then we start small, he decided. Master these abilities, establish controlled contact, find allies one by one if necessary. Big things always begin with small steps. As our meeting concluded and night deepened over Konoha, Naruto found himself standing alone in the compound courtyard, gazing at stars that now held new significance. Somewhere among those distant lights existed worlds he'd never imagined. Civilizations spanning thousands of systems, conflicts and hopes extending beyond his comprehension. It seems your destiny grows more complicated by the day, Kit. Kurama observed within his mindscape. When was it ever simple? Naruto replied with good-natured resignation. He sensed Ahsoka's approach before hearing her footsteps, her force presence now recognizable to his developing senses as distinctly as a familiar chakra signature. Thinking about your place in the universe? She asked, joining him in contemplating the night sky. Trying to, he admitted. It's a lot bigger than I imagined yesterday. Ahsoka nodded understanding. The first time I left my homeworld and saw the galaxy from orbit, I felt simultaneously enormous and microscopic. The scale of existence has a way of putting personal concerns in perspective. Yet individual choices still matter, Naruto countered. One person can change everything, for better or worse. Quote, that philosophy served you well in your world's conflicts. It's how we survived the Fourth Great Ninja War, Naruto confirmed. Every person making their stand, however small, until together we ed down a goddess who would have enslaved humanity. Ahsoka considered this. In my experience, the greatest evils often begin with small compromises by good people who convince themselves the alternative would be worse. Your Kagaya, our Emperor Palpatine. Different methods, same result, the destruction of freedom. They stood in companionable silence, two warriors from different dimensions unite. By common values despite their divergent experiences. Eventually, Ahsoka spoke again, her voice quieter. The prophecy in the scroll, the Sage of Light and Shadow, it describes wielding both aspects of the Force in harmony. That concept challenges fundamental Jedi teachings about avoiding the dark side entirely. Naruto thought about this, connecting it to his own experiences. When I first accessed Kurama's chakra, it was destructive, corrosive, it hurt me and threatened others. But the problem wasn't the power itself, it was the lack of harmony, the absence of understanding between us. He placed a hand over his seal. Now we're partners. The power that once threatened to consume me helps me protect what matters. Balance rather than rejection, Ahsoka mused. The Jedi Council would Avenue considered that dangerously heretical, which might explain why they failed to see the darkness rising within the Republic until it was too late. A gentle breeze stirred the courtyard, carrying the scent of night-blooming flowers from the compound's revitalized gardens. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Training to control unprecedented powers, searching for answers in ancient texts, preparing for threats yet unrevealed. But for this moment, standing beneath familiar stars newly contextualized, Naruto felt an unexpected sense of rightness, as though distinct paths of destiny had converged precisely where and when they needed to. We should rest, he finally suggested. Tomorrow we start figuring out how to be the bridge between worlds that Kenshin envisioned. Ahsoka nodded agreement, though her expression suggested sleep might prove elusive with so much to process. As they turned toward their respective quarters, a shooting star traced a brilliant path across the night sky. A cosmic punctuation mark to a day that had fundamentally altered the course of two dimensions. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, The Warrior from Beyond. Dawn broke over Konoha with tentative fingers of HT that crept across unfamiliar architecture, casting shadows Ahsoka Tano had never seen before. She sat cross-legged on the Uzumaki compound's roof, deep in meditation as she had been for hours, MPTing to process the impossible situation she found herself in. Another dimension, another reality altogether, with its own laws of physics, its own history, its own manifestation of the cosmic energy she knew as the Force. Breathe in, hold, release. The Force flowed differently here, more vibrant somehow, less constrained by physical boundaries. It resonated with the energy they called chakra, creating harmonics that felt simultaneously alien and strangely familiar. The sensation reminded her of ancient Jedi temples where the boundary between the physical and spiritual grew thin, except here that thinness extended everywhere. A presence approached, distinctive, powerful, and somehow inherently warm despite the maelstrom of energy it contained. She didn't need to open her eyes. "You're up early, Naruto Uzumaki." "Never been much for sleeping in," he replied, settling beside her with surprising grace for someone who projected such boundless energy. "Especially not when there's so much to figure out." Ahsoka opened her eyes, studying him with renewed interest in the morning light. His physical appearance was deceptively ordinary, human, or near enough by galactic standards, yet his Force signature blazed like twin suns. One golden bright, one crimson deep, orbiting each other in complex patterns she'd never encountered before. "Your dual nature," she observed. "The entity you call Kurama. I've been wondering how that works, exactly." Naruto's hand drifted unconsciously to his abdomen where an elaborate seal lay hidden beneath his clothing. "Kurama, the nine-tailed fox, was sealed inside me the day I was born. For most of my life, we were adversaries. He hated being imprisoned. I resented the suffering his presence caused me." A shadow crossed his features before resolving into something more contemplative. "Eventually, we found common ground. Now we're partners. You make peace with your inner darkness," Ahsoka noted. "That's not the Jedi way." "Is that why you left the Order?" Naruto asked, direct but not unkind. "Because you saw things differently." The question struck deeper than he could know. Ahsoka gazed across the village slowly coming to life below them, giving herself time to formulate an answer that honored both truth and pain. "I left because the Order abandoned me when I needed them most," she finally said, her voice steady despite the old wound it exposed. "But staying away was my choice. I saw the rigidity of Jedi doctrine creating blind spots that, ultimately contributed to their destruction." Naruto absorbed this with surprising perception. "So you found your own way." "As did you, from what I gather," she countered with the hint of a smile. "Neither of us fits neatly into established systems." Their conversation paused. A third presence joined them, the Hyuga woman, Hinata, carrying a tray with steaming cups and a simple breakfast. Ahsoka noted the graceful efficiency of her movements and the subtle way her pale eyes tracked everything without seeming to focus on anything specific. "I thought you might appreciate some tea before today's council meeting," Hinata offered, setting the tray between them. "Hokage-sama has requested your presence at 9. Naruto-kun. You're the best, Hinata," Naruto said with unguarded warmth that brought a delicate flush to the woman's cheeks. "Will you join us? I should prepare the meeting room," she demurred. Though Ahsoka sensed her reluctance to leave, Shikamaru-kun requested specific sealing scrolls from the library for review. After Hinata departed, Ahsoka sipped the unfamiliar tea, herbal with subtle spices unlike anything in her experience. "She cares for you deeply," she observed, watching Naruto's reaction carefully. He nodded, his expression softening. "Hinata's believed in me longer than anyone. Even when I was too dense to notice." Self-deprecating humor colored his words. "We've been exploring possibilities, but recent events have complicated things." "By recent events, you mean me falling through a dimensional rift," Ahsoka clarified dryly. Naruto laughed, a genuine sound that resonated pleasantly in the Force. "That, and discovering I am supposedly destined to become some interdimensional bridge builder with mystic powers from another galaxy, tends to disrupt dating plans." Ahsoka found herself smiling despite the gravity of their situation. There was something refreshing about Naruto's straightforward approach to extraordinary circumstances. It reminded her of better days, of a mentor who faced the impossible with unwavering determination and the occasional irreverent quip. Speaking of those powers, she said, redirecting their conversation to practical matters, we should establish a training regimen. Your natural ability is remarkable, but raw power without discipline is more dangerous than no power at all, Naruto finished. Trust me, I learned that lesson the hard way. He glanced toward the village, expression turning more serious. But before training, we need to handle politics. The village council will have questions about you, your world, and what all this means for Konoha's security. Politics, Ahsoka sighed. Some things are universal, it seems. The Konoha council chamber reflected generations of tradition merged with pragmatic functionality. Polished wooden floors supported simple cushions arranged in hierarchical patterns around a central space. Wall scrolls depicted historical scenes and philosophical principles, while subtle ceiling arrays provided privacy and security. Natural light filtered through paper screens, creating an atmosphere of formal tranquility that belied the tension permeating the room. Ahsoka stood beside Naruto, acutely aware of the scrutiny directed toward her from the assembled leadership. She recognized Kakashi Hatake, the Hokage, and Shikamaru Nara from previous interactions. The others represented clan heads, military commanders, and administrative officials, the power structure of a society organized around combat capability blended with civilian governance. Unlike the theatrical spectacle of the Senate or the austere formality of the Jedi Council, this gathering maintained a deceptive casualness that masked keen assessment. These people had survived wars where superhuman abilities were commonplace. They wouldn't be easily impressed or intimidated. Kakashi opened proceedings with diplomatic precision, outlining the situation in terms that acknowledged its extraordinary nature while emphasizing practical implications rather than metaphysical mysteries. Shikamaru followed with a strategic assessment that impressed Ahsoka with its clarity and foresight. This young man possessed analytical capabilities that would have served the Republic well during the Clone Wars. When invited to speak, Ahsoka chose her words carefully, balancing honesty with diplomatic restraint. She described her galaxy's basic political structure, the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, and her own position as a former Jedi now operating independently against Imperial tyranny. She emphasized the potential dangers of unrestricted dimensional access while acknowledging the opportunities for mutual benefit through controlled cooperation. The Empire possesses technology capable of destroying entire planets, she explained, watching their reactions shift from skepticism to grim understanding. But they lack understanding of energy manipulation at the individual level that your shinobi have mastered. Each dimension has developed different aspects of the same fundamental cosmic power. A woman with distinctive facial markings, introduced as Inuzuka soon, leaned forward aggressively. And we're supposed to trust that you're not an advanced scout for this empire. Gathering intelligence for invasion. Before Ahsoka could respond, a calm voice intervened. Impossible. All eyes turned to a heavily bandaged elder with a cane, Hyuga Hiyashi, Hinata's father and clan head. My daughter observed this woman with the Byakugan throughout yesterday's events. Her chakra network, while unusual, shows no deception patterns, and her actions have consistently prioritized cooperation and stability. Additionally, Shikamaru added, our intelligence division has confirmed the authenticity of the ancient scroll Naruto discovered. The historic account of Kenshin Uzumaki aligns with archaeological evidence and clan records previously considered anomalous. Naruto stepped forward, his presence commanding attention without obvious effort, a natural charisma Ahsoka had observed in the most effective leaders throughout the galaxy. I understand your concerns, he addressed the council respectfully yet without deference. 3 years ago, we faced Kagaya, an interdimensional threat that nearly enslaved humanity. We'd be fools not to consider similar dangers now. But we'd be equally foolish to reject potential allies based on fear alone. He gestured toward Ahsoka. Ahsoka Tano fought against tyranny in her dimension just as we fought against Madara and Obito in ours. Her knowledge of the Force, this other manifestation of cosmic energy, is already helping me understand the power I've accidentally awakened. Together, we stand a better chance of controlling these dimensional pathways before others discover them. The council deliberated further, questioning both Naruto and Ahsoka on specific aspects of the situation. Ahsoka noted how seamlessly Naruto had transitioned from the impulsive youth others occasionally referenced to this confident, strategic advocate. The Force flowed strongly around him when he spoke of protection and cooperation, suggesting deep alignment between his words and true intentions. Eventually, Kakashi called for a decision. "We find ourselves at another historical inflection point," he observed, single visible eye sweeping the chamber. "Our response will echo through generations, just as the decisions made during the founding of Konoha shaped the world we inhabit today." After further discussion, the council reached consensus. Ahsoka would be granted provisional ally status under Naruto's direct supervision. Resources would be allocated for research into the dimensional phenomena, while defensive preparations would proceed discreetly. A small team of elite shinobi would be assembled to handle potential interdimensional threats, with Naruto designated as both field commander and primary liaison. As the meeting concluded, Ahsoka felt a complex mix of relief, appreciation, and lingering wariness. These people had accepted her presence with remarkable adaptability, yet she remained acutely aware of her precarious position, stranded in an unfamiliar dimension with uncertain prospects for return. Outside the council chamber, Naruto seemed to sense her conflicted emotions. "That went better than expected," he offered. "No one demanded your immediate execution, and only 2 people. He suggested sealing away your dangerous foreign powers forever. Your optimism is both admirable and concerning," Ahsoka replied, though she couldn't entirely suppress her amusement at his characterization. "Is near execution your standard for successful diplomacy?" "You'd be surprised," he chuckled, leading her toward a secluded training ground on the village outskirts. "Now that politics are handled for the moment, we should focus on understanding exactly what happened when I activated that scroll. The sooner we control these dimensional pathways, the better for everyone." The training ground proved to be a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, their massive trunks bearing scars of countless practice sessions. Stone monuments stood at irregular intervals, their surfaces covered with age-worn engravings that Ahsoka recognized as focusing aids for meditation. The space felt saturated with generations of concentrated effort, not unlike certain Jedi training chambers where countless RNERs had left subtle impressions in the Force. "This place is special," she observed, feeling the currents of energy that flowed more strongly here than elsewhere in the village. Naruto nodded. "The third training ground, Team 7, my original squad, trained here under Kakashi-sensei. Before that, my father trained here with his team. Before that, well, you get the idea. Generations of chakra use have made the energy flow more readily. A perfect location to begin understanding your new abilities," Ahsoka agreed, settling cross-legged on a sun-warmed stone. "Show me what you've discovered so far, not just the techniques, but how they feel compared to your usual chakra manipulation." For the next several hours, they explored the intersection of Force sensitivity and chakra control. Naruto demonstrated remarkable adaptability, translating Jedi concepts into frameworks that matched his existing understanding of energy manipulation. His natural affinity for unconventional approaches proved advantageous as they discovered that Force techniques could be enhanced through chakra channeling methods, creating hybrid abilities neither tradition had previously developed. "It's like having 2 different instruments playing the same song," Naruto explained as he demonstrated a modified version of Force telekinesis enhanced with wind nature chakra. A boulder lifted from the ground, surrounded by visible currents of air that extended its range of movement beyond normal Force limitations. Separately they're powerful, but together they create something new. Ahsoka found herself genuinely impressed. "You've grasped in hours what takes most Jedi months of study. Your connection to both energies is unprecedented." As afternoon shadows lengthened across the training ground, they were joined by an unexpected visitor. A pale young man with straight black hair appeared at the clearing's edge, his expression a practiced simulation of friendliness that didn't quite reach his eyes. He carried a scroll tucked under one arm and observed their training with analytical detachment. "Sai," Naruto greeted him with casual familiarity. "Didn't expect to see you back from your mission so soon." "Circumstances changed," Sai replied, his gaze shifting to assess Ahsoka with professional scrutiny. "Interdimensional visitors tend to reprioritize operational objectives." Ahsoka returned his evaluation openly. Recognizing the distinctive bearing of intelligence operatives across any culture, the careful balance between revealed and concealed intention, the constant calculation of informational advantage. Yamanaka-san requested I delivered this research material, Sai continued, extending the scroll toward Naruto. The Intelligence Division has identified historical references to dimensional disturbances that may correlate with your recent discovery. As Naruto accepted the scroll, Sai turned more fully toward Ahsoka. I have also been instructed to offer my services as a cultural liaison. Should you require more comprehensive understanding of our societal structures beyond what Naruto can provide. The offer, while ostensibly courteous, clearly served dual purposes, providing genuine assistance while establishing another observation point. Ahsoka had navigated enough political environments to recognize soft surveillance when offered. I appreciate the consideration, she replied diplomatically. Your perspective would be valuable, particularly regarding how different villages approach security concerns around unknown phenomena. Something flickered briefly in Sai's expression, perhaps surprise at her direct acknowledgement of the unspoken dynamic. He inclined his head slightly. A practical area of focus. Perhaps we could discuss comparative approaches over tea tomorrow. After Sai departed, Naruto unrolled the scroll on a flat stone, revealing densely written text interspersed with diagrams of energy patterns. Ino's father has been researching unusual chakra phenomena for decades. He explained, if anyone has records of previous dimensional anomalies, it would be the Yamanaka clan. They studied the material together as evening approached, identifying several historical incidents that suggested temporary weakening of dimensional boundaries. Most occurred around significant celestial events or following massive chakra disruptions such as the release of tailed beasts. These patterns correlate with force nexus behavior in my galaxy, Ahsoka noted, indicating particular energy signatures documented in the scroll. Places where the boundary between physical and spiritual realms grows thin during specific alignments. Like the ruins where I found Kenshin's scroll, Naruto realized. The Forest of Death has always had strange chakra properties, now we know why. It's built around a dimensional weak point. Their research was interrupted by a messenger bird delivering a note from Kakashi, requesting their presence at the Uzumaki compound. They arrived to find an unexpected gathering. Hinata, Shikamaru, and a pink-haired woman Ahsoka hadn't yet met standing around a table covered with maps and scrolls. Sakura, Naruto greeted the newcomer with obvious affection. When did you get back from Sand? This morning, she replied, her intelligent green eyes quickly assessing Ahsoka before offering a polite bow. Tsunade-sama led me when she heard about your latest world-changing adventure. Apparently, my medical expertise might be useful in understanding physiological effects of interdimensional travel. Introductions completed, Kakashi directed their attention to the materials spread across the table. We've identified 3 additional locations that match the energy signature of the ruins where Naruto discovered the scroll. Each aligns with historical accounts of unusual phenomena that, in retrospect, suggest dimensional thinning. Shikamaru indicated points on the map. The patterns form a perfect pentagon when connected, with Konoha at the center. If these are indeed dimensional weak points, they weren't naturally occurring. Someone deliberately created this configuration. Kenshin Uzumaki, Naruto suggested. The scroll mentioned he established anchors to maintain connection between dimensions. That's our working theory, Kakashi agreed. We're organizing expeditions to investigate each site, starting tomorrow. Naruto, I'd like you and Ahsoka to lead the first team to these ruins in the Land of Rivers. Your sensitivity to both chakra and this force energy makes you uniquely qualified to recognize important elements. Ahsoka studied the map, mentally calculating distances and assessing strategic implications. If these sites are dimensional weak points, they're potential vulnerabilities as well as resources. In my experience, power nexuses attract those seeking to exploit them. Which is why your team will include Anbu support, Kakashi confirmed. This is primarily reconnaissance, not engagement. Identify, document, and secure, nothing more until we better understand what we're dealing with. As the meeting continued, Ahsoka observed the interpersonal dynamics with interest. Sakura clearly shared deep history with Naruto, their interaction reflecting comfortable familiarity tempered by mutual respect that had evolved beyond youthful patterns. Hinata's feelings for Naruto remained evident in subtle glances and attentive responses, yet she carried herself with quiet dignity rather than desperate longing. Shikamaru maintained professional focus while occasionally exchanging knowing looks with Naruto during particularly complex explanations, suggesting a friendship based on complementary intellectual approaches. These people functioned as a cohesive unit despite distinct personalities and apparent histories, some combination of shared combat experience and genuine affection creating bonds that transcended mere professional association. It reminded Ahsoka of her own closest relationships forged during the Clone Wars, bringing a momentary pang of longing for companions now separated by dimensional barriers. After the meeting concluded, Sakura approached Ahsoka directly. "If you're willing, I'd like to conduct a medical examination before your departure tomorrow. Your physiological response to interdimensional travel might provide insights that could help us understand the broader effects." Of course, Ahsoka agreed, recognizing the scientific validity of the request. "Though I should warn you, Togruta biology differs from human in several significant aspects." "Even better," Sakura replied with genuine enthusiasm. "Comparative analysis often reveals underlying principles that single-species studies miss." Besides, she added with a hint of wry humor, "after treating the various Kekkei Genkai and transformations in our world, non-human physiology sounds refreshingly straightforward." They proceeded to a small medical facility within the Uzumaki compound, apparently established overnight as part of the rapidly developing research initiative. The examination that followed proved fascinating for both parties. Sakura's analytical approach to Ahsoka's biological differences was both professionally thorough and respectfully considerate, while Ahsoka gained insight into the medical applications of chakra that had no direct equivalent in galactic healthcare. "Your cellular structure shows remarkable adaptability," Sakura observed as she reviewed results. "The transition between dimensions should have caused significant biological stress. Why? Yet your system appears to have integrated the different physical constants seamlessly." "Jedi training includes techniques for bodily adaptation to different environments," Ahsoka explained. "Though, I doubt the founders anticipated interdimensional travel as an application." Sakura's expression turned thoughtful. That adaptive capacity might explain why Naruto's connection to this force energy manifested so readily. His Uzumaki heritage already provides extraordinary resilience and adaptability, qualities that would facilitate integration of new energy patterns. Their discussion continued, exploring parallels between force healing techniques and medical ninjutsu. Ahsoka found herself genuinely enjoying the exchange of knowledge, appreciating Sakura's scientific mind and practical approach to extraordinary phenomena. "You've known Naruto a long time," Ahsoka observed during a pause in their professional discussion, allowing her curiosity about this world's people to surface. Sakura's expression softened with fond exasperation. "Since we were assigned to the same team at age 12. He was the most annoying, hyperactive, determined kid you could imagine, always shouting about becoming Hokage someday while failing at basic techniques." Her smile turned reflective. "Now he's probably the most powerful shinobi alive, and everyone takes it for granted that he'll lead the village eventually." "What changed him?" Ahsoka asked, sensing a deeper story. "Nothing changed him," Sakura corrected. "He was always extraordinary. The rest of us just failed to see it beneath the loud exterior and desperate need for acknowledgement." She arranged her instruments with practiced precision, seemingly gathering thoughts. "Naruto grew up completely alone, orphaned at birth, carrying a burden he didn't understand. Shunned by almost everyone. Despite that, he never gave up on people. Never stopped believing things could be better." The description resonated with Ahsoka's observations while adding emotional context that explained much about Naruto's remarkable resilience and empathy. It also paralleled certain aspects of Jedi upbringing, separation from family, carrying abilities others didn't understand, though with apparently opposite methods of social integration. "His capacity for forgiveness is almost supernatural," Sakura continued. "People who tried to kill him have become his closest allies. He faces darkness, in himself and others, without flinching, but also without surrendering to it." She met Ahsoka's eyes directly. "Whatever this force power awakening means, if anyone can handle it without being corrupted, it's Naruto." Later that evening, as preparations for the expedition continued, Ahsoka found herself drawn to the Uzumaki compound's central garden. Restored by ancient seals, it featured flowing water channels surrounding an island of white sand carefully arranged in patterns that reminded her of certain Jedi meditation gardens. The night air carried unfamiliar floral scents while distant sounds of village life provided a gentle background rhythm. She settled into a meditation posture, allowing her consciousness to expand beyond immediate concerns. He force flowed differently here than in her home galaxy, more vibrant in some aspects, more structured in others. She could sense the vast web of life energy connecting all things, but here those connections seemed deliberately channeled through established pathways rather than forming organically. A familiar presence approached, pausing at the garden's edge with uncharacteristic hesitation. Ahsoka opened her eyes to find Naruto standing there, his expression suggesting internal conflict. "I'm not interrupting," he asked. "Not at all," she assured him, gesturing to the space beside her. "Something's troubling you." He settled cross-legged on the sand, unconsciously mirroring her posture. "I've been studying the scroll sections about Kenshin's journey, how he established the Jedi Order based on principles from our world but adapted to the nature of the Force. And," she prompted when he paused, "he believed balance was essential, not just within individuals, but across dimensions. That's why he created these anchor points." Naruto ran fingers through the sand, absently creating spiral patterns. "But the Jedi eventually rejected that teaching, didn't they? They focused exclusively on the light side, denying the shadow entirely." Ahsoka considered her response carefully, aware that simplified explanations would be inadequate. The Jedi feared the dark side's corrupting influence, with good reason. Those who embraced it often lost themselves to destructive impulses and cruelty. Over generations, caution hardened into dogma. Like the cycle of hatred between villages in our world, Naruto observed. Legitimate grievances calcifying into permanent enmity, until no one remembered why the conflict began. His insight impressed her. This was no simplistic thinker but someone who had grappled with fundamental questions of conflict and reconciliation. "The scroll suggests that complete balance is possible," he continued. "Not through rejecting either aspect, but through understanding both as essential elements of a greater whole." His gaze met hers directly. "You've walked both sides, haven't you? Left the Jedi but rejected the Sith. Found your own middle path." His observation struck uncomfortably close to truths Ahsoka had only recently come to accept about herself. "I follow the light," she said carefully. "But I've learned that compassion sometimes requires actions the Jedi Council would consider dangerously close to darkness. Righteous anger has its place when confronting genuine evil." Naruto nodded as though she'd confirmed something important. "Tomorrow we're visiting another dimensional anchor point. I need to understand this power before attempting to control the pathways between worlds." He looked up at the star-filled sky. "Your guidance matters more than you realize, Ahsoka. You've experienced what happens when balance fails in your dimension. I don't want to repeat those mistakes in mine." The sincerity in his voice touched something deep within her, a recognition of shared purpose transcending their different origins. For the first time since arriving in this dimension, Ahsoka felt something beyond pragmatic cooperation or intellectual curiosity. This young man's genuine desire to use power responsibly, to learn from others' mistakes rather than repeat them, resonated with her own hard-won wisdom. "We'll figure it out together," she promised. "Balance doesn't mean perfection. It means constant adjustment, awareness of both the light and shadow within all things." They sat in companionable silence as night deepened around them. Two warriors from different dimensions united by common questions about power, responsibility, and the delicate balance between opposing forces necessary for true harmony. Dawn found them departing Konoha in a small, efficient team. Naruto and Ahsoka led the expedition, accompanied by Hinata, whose Byakugan would prove invaluable in identifying energy patterns, and two Anbu operatives who maintained discreet positions at the group's perimeter. R7, Ahsoka's astromech droid, had been specially modified with chakra-sensitive scanning equipment, rolling determinedly alongside them. Despite the occasionally challenging terrain, their destination lay 3 days' journey southwest in the Land of Rivers, a small nation nestled between larger powers, known for its winding waterways and strategic trade routes. According to Shikamaru's analysis, the dimensional anchor point there corresponded with local legends about a singing valley, where reality supposedly grew thin during certain celestial alignments. Traveling through Fire Country's forests gave Ahsoka opportunity to observe more of this world's natural environment. The scale of vegetation exceeded anything she'd encountered on habitable planets, trees towering hundreds of meters skyward, their ancient trunks wide enough to accommodate roadways through hollowed centers. Wildlife displayed similar gigantism, with CTS the size of small vehicles and predators proportionally enlarged. The ambient chakra in the environment encourages unusual growth patterns, Hinata explained when Ahsoka commented on a particularly massive mushroom formation. Natural energy here flows more abundantly than in most regions, creating evolutionary pressures that favor size and complexity. The shinobi traveled primarily by TREE jumping, a method of rapid transit that utilized chakra-enhanced leaps between branches high above the forest floor. Ahsoka adapted quickly to this unfamiliar mode of transportation, her natural too. Gruta agility complemented by force-enhanced movement. R7 required occasional assistance navigating difficult terrain, but generally managed by deploying previously unused mobility features Ahsoka hadn't realized the droid possessed. Their journey provided valuable time for observation and integration. Ahsoka studied how chakra manifested in everyday activities, Naruto creating shadow clones to scout ahead, Hinata activating her Byakugan to scan for potential threats, even the simple act of walking vertically up tree trunks that all shinobi seemed to take for granted. In return, she demonstrated force techniques that particularly interested her companions, short-range telekinesis, enhanced perception, and rudimentary battle precognition. On their second evening, camped beside a crystal-clear stream, conversation turned to more personal matters as they shared a meal around a small fire. The Anbu maintained perimeter security, leaving the three primary team members to discuss observations and theories. Your lightsabers, Hinata began with characteristic politeness. They appear to function similarly to chakra blades, yet with properties of never observed before. Would you mind explaining their construction? Ahsoka unclipped one hilt from her belt, holding it respectfully rather than activating it. The heart of a lightsaber is its kyber crystal, a force-sensitive crystalline formation that resonates with its wielder. The crystal focuses energy through specific chambers, creating a plasma blade contained within a magnetic field. R7 projected a holographic schematic of the internal components, drawing an appreciative murmur from both shinobi. Each Jedi traditionally constructs their own lightsaber as part of their training, Ahsoka continued. The process is both technical and deeply spiritual, a meditation through creation that establishes connection between wielder and weapon. Like our chakra blades, Naruto observed, but more permanent. We shape our chakra into weapons temporarily, while your technology maintains the form independently. Different approaches to similar concepts, Ahsoka agreed, which seems to be a recurring theme between our dimensions. Hinata leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. You mentioned the crystal resonates with its wielder. Does that create a unique signature, like our individual chakra patterns? Exactly, Ahsoka confirmed, impressed by her insightful question. Kyber crystals attune themselves to their Jedi, reflecting something of their nature. When I reclaimed these crystals after leaving the Order, they changed color from blue to white, symbolizing my independent path. That's why they feel alive in the Force, Naruto realized. Not just tools, but extensions of yourself. Their discussion continued late into the evening, comparing philosophical approaches to power across different traditions. Ahsoka found herself increasingly comfortable sharing perspectives that would have been considered unorthodox among traditional Jedi, views shaped by her experiences during and after the Clone Wars. Her companions listened with genuine interest, occasionally offering parallels from their own world's history of conflict and reconciliation. As conversation naturally ebbed, Hinata excused herself for first watch, leaving Naruto and Ahsoka beside the dying embers of their fire. Night sounds fill the comfortable silence between them, distant water flowing over stones, nocturnal creatures moving through underbrush, the gentle rhythm of wind through leaves. Thank you, Naruto said softly, breaking the silence. For what? For sharing your knowledge so openly. For treating us as equals despite coming from a civilization that spans galaxies while we've barely unified continents. His expression in the fading firelight held genuine appreciation. Most people with your advantages would look down on us as primitives. Ahsoka considered his words carefully. Advanced technology doesn't equate to advanced wisdom. My galaxy developed faster than light travel millennia ago, yet still fell to tyranny through fear and manipulation. Your people developed profound understanding of persona. Energy manipulation that would astonish the most accomplished Jedi masters. She gestured to the star-filled sky above them. Different paths, different priorities. Neither inherently superior, just different responses to different environments. Balance again, Naruto observed with a smile. You're starting to sound like the scroll. Perhaps Kenshin Uzumaki understood something fundamental. That both our traditions gradually forgot, she suggested. The need for complementary perspectives rather than singular doctrine. Morning brought them to the border between Fire Country and the Land of Rivers. Marked by a dramatic transition from dense forest to rolling hills cut through by countless waterways. They adjusted their travel method accordingly, following riverbanks and crossing barriers with chakra-enhanced techniques that Ahsoka mimicked through force application. By mid-afternoon, they approached their destination, a circular valley surrounded by unusually uniform hills. That suggested artificial modification of the natural landscape. R7's sensors detected energy patterns similar to those at the Forest of Death ruins, confirming they had located another dimensional anchor point. The symmetry is too perfect to be natural, Hinata observed as they surveyed the valley from a ridge overlook. These formations were deliberately constructed, though erosion has obscured the original design. And were not the first visitors recently, one Anbu operative noted, indicating disturbed vegetation and faint footprints leading into the valley. Multiple individuals, moving with stealth training. Within the past 3 days, Naruto and Ahsoka exchanged concerned glances. Could be simple bandits using the valley as a hideout, he suggested without much conviction. Or someone else has identified these locations as significant, Ahsoka countered. The dimensional disturbance caused by your awakening would have created detectable energy signatures for anyone sensitive to such phenomena. They proceeded with increased caution, Hinata's Byakugan scanning for chakra signatures while Ahsoka extended her force awareness throughout the valley. R7 maintained constant sensor sweeps, communicating findings through subdued electronic chirps rather than standard binary bursts. At the valley's center stood a structure partially reclaimed by nature, a circular platform 20 meters across. Supported by weathered stone columns. Ancient symbols carved into its perimeter resembled those from the Forest of Death ruins, though with regional variations that suggested adaptation to local energy patterns. The anchor point, Naruto confirmed, feeling resonance between the site's energy signature and the power he had awakened within himself. It's dormant but intact. Hinata moved methodically around the structure, her Byakugan revealing details invisible to normal perception. There are chakra pathways throughout the entire valley, connecting to this central point. The design resembles an enormous ceiling array, but with elements I don't recognize. Similar to Kenshin's work, Ahsoka agreed, studying markings that incorporated elements recognizable from ancient Jedi texts. This was designed to channel energy between dimensions in controlled, sustainable patterns. Their investigation continued for several hours, documenting the site's features and energy signatures while maintaining vigilant security. The Anbu operatives discovered additional evidence of recent activity, discarded supplies suggesting a research expedition rather than military operation. With equipment far more sophisticated than typical bandit groups would possess. As sunset approached, casting long shadows across the valley floor, Naruto performed the crucial test they had planned. Standing at the platform's center, he carefully channeled the dual energies he now commanded, chakra spiraling in his right hand, force energy coalescing in his left. When both reached stable manifestation, he brought his hands together, merging the energies into a single, harmonized form. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The entire platform illuminated with brilliant blue-white light, ancient symbols flaring to life in sequence from center to perimeter. The light spread outward along previously invisible pathways, revealing the valley's true nature, an immense spiral pattern with the platform at its heart. Designed to channel and focus dimensional energies. It's responding to the combination, Ahsoka observed, feeling resonance in the force unlike anything she had experienced. Chakra alone or force alone wouldn't activate it, only the synthesis of both. Naruto maintained the merged energy field with impressive control, his expression reflecting concentration rather than strain. I can feel the connection to the Forest of Death's site, like they're communicating somehow, re-establishing a network that's been dormant for centuries. A low humming filled the air as the activation intensified, vibrations passing through stone and soil in harmonic patterns. Within the platform's center, directly beneath Naruto's position, space itself began to shimmer, not tearing open as it had during Ahsoka's arrival, but thinning gradually in controlled, deliberate fashion. Remarkable, Hinata whispered, her Byakugan revealing energy flows beyond normal perception. The dimensional boundary is becoming permeable, but in a structured way that maintains stability. The controlled activation continued for several minutes before Naruto gradually reduced the energy flow, allowing the system to deactivate safely rather than shutting down abruptly. As the lights faded and vibrations subsided, he stepped away from the center, looking both exhilarated and thoughtful. It worked exactly as the scroll described, he said. These anchor points were designed to allow controlled passage between dimensions without destabilizing either reality. Kenshin created a network that could be activated when needed, then returned to dormancy. But the network degraded over centuries without maintenance, Ahsoka added, connecting theoretical elements with what they had observed. Nu accidentally activated the Forest of Death's site with raw, uncontrolled power. It created the violent rift that pulled me through. Which means with proper training and understanding, stable travel might be possible. Hinata concluded. Their discussion was interrupted by R7's urgent alerting chirp. The droid's sensors had detected approaching chakra signatures, multiple individuals moving with coordinated precision toward their position from 3 directions. Not friendly, the Anbu captain assessed quietly. Formation suggests ambush protocol. Recommend immediate strategic repositioning. Before they could withdraw, the approaching forces accelerated suddenly, abandoning stealth for speed. Within moments, they found themselves surrounded by 8 shinobi wearing unfamiliar breathing apparatus and lightweight armor. Their headbands displayed a musical note symbol partially scratched through, identifying them as rogue elements from the defunct Sound Village. Uzumaki Naruto, their leader called out, voice distorted through his breathing mask. How convenient. Lord Ketsuki will be pleased we've saved him the trouble of hunting you down. Ketsuki, Naruto questioned, is posture shifting subtly into combat readiness. Never heard of him. The visionary who will succeed where Orochimaru-sama failed, another attacker proclaimed with fanatical certainty. He who understands the true potential of dimensional manipulation. Ahsoka assessed their opponents with practiced efficiency, well-trained combatants with coordinated tactics, likely specialized in ambush rations based on their equipment and positioning. Their conversation served dual purpose of distraction and information gathering, suggesting they valued Naruto alive rather than dead. They've been monitoring the anchor points, she realized, exchanging glances with Naruto, waiting for someone to activate them. Clever alien, the leader acknowledged with mocking appreciation. Yes, Lord Ketz. Ueki predicted the ancient network would eventually reawaken. We've patiently observed for months, documenting energy fluctuations across all 5 anchor points. Your arrival was unexpected but fortuitous. The standoff tightened as both sides evaluated tactical options. Despite being outnumbered, Ahsoka recognized their team held significant advantages: Naruto's raw power, Hinata's Byakugan, her own force abilities, and 2 Anbu operatives whose capabilities remained deliberately obscured. We have no quarrel with you, Naruto offered diplomatically. We're simply researching historical sites. Let's avoid unnecessary conflict. The leader laughed, the sound distorted through his breathing apparatus. Your diplomatic skills have improved since your genin days, Uzumaki. But Lord Ketsuki's instructions were clear. Secure the dimensional traveler and any Uzumaki blood capable of activating the network. Without further warning, the attackers moved simultaneously, a coordinated assault from multiple angles designed to separate their targets. Sound-based jutsu created disorienting pressure waves while specialized smoke bombs released chakra-disrupting compounds into the air. Ahsoka reacted instinctively, igniting both lightsabers as she leapt into a defensive position. The white and green blades hummed through the thickening air, creating momentary clarity within the sensory confusion. She sensed rather than saw Naruto creating shadow clones for defensive coverage while Hinata activated a Hyuga protection technique that cleared the immediate area around them. The Anbu engage. Deep perimeter attackers with silent efficiency, their specialized techniques targeting opponents, mobility rather than delivering fatal strikes, information gathering clearly prioritized over elimination. Combat escalated rapidly as both sides revealed additional capabilities. The Sound Shinobi demonstrated unusual techniques involving vibration manipulation and sonic projection, suggesting Orikima. Ryu's experimental approach had continued under this new leadership. Their coordinated tactics indicated extensive training specifically designed to counter Konoha's standard response patterns. Ahsoka found herself facing two opponents simultaneously, both utilizing sound-based attacks that attempted to disrupt her equilibrium and sensory perception. They clearly hadn't encountered lightsabers before, approaching with confidence that their specialized weapons would be effective against conventional blades. Their mistake became apparent when one attacker's vibrating kunai contacted Ahsoka's lig. HT Saber. The plasma blade sliced through the metal implement with negligible resistance, continuing through to injure the wielder's hand before he could react. His partner adapted quickly, switching to ranged sonic attacks that Ahsoka deflected with force-enhanced movements. Nearby, Naruto engaged the leader directly, his shadow clones providing coverage while he analyzed the opponent's technique. Hinata faced two attackers utilizing her clan's gentle fist style with impressive precision, her Byakugan allowing her to target chakra points through the disorienting smoke. The battle's momentum shifted decisively when Naruto unleashed a new technique, combining a Rasengan with force energy to create a spiraling sphere that absorbed and redirected sonic attacks. The leader, unprepared for this innovation, found his primary offensive capability rendered ineffective. His surprise created an opening that Naruto exploited with characteristic determination, delivering a precisely calculated strike that incapacitated without killing. Seeing their leader fall, the remaining attackers attempted tactical withdrawal. The Anbu anticipated this, having positioned capture techniques during the engagement. Within moments, three opponents were securely restrained while the others managed to escape into the surrounding terrain. As the smoke cleared and immediate threats subsided, they regrouped around the captured shinobi. Naruto approached the leader, who glared defiantly despite his restrained position. "Tell us about Ketsuki," Naruto demanded, his expression serious but not cruel. "What does he want with the dimensional anchor points?" The leader maintained stubborn silence until Hinata stepped forward, her Byakugan active. "His chakra network shows signs of chemical enhancement," she observed clinically. "Specialized compounds similar to Orochimaru's curse mark technology, but more refined." "Loyalty enforcement," one Anbu operative concluded. "Speaking against orders would trigger severe neurological response." Naruto's expression shifted to concern rather than frustration. "We can help you," he offered sincerely. "Sakura and Tsunade have experience treating Orochimaru's modifications." The leader's defiance wavered momentarily, something like desperate hope flickering across his features before being suppressed. "You cannot stop what's coming," he finally said, voice strained as though fighting internal resistance. "The barriers between worlds are weakening. Lord Ketsuki has seen beyond. He knows what waits in the spaces between dimensions." "What exactly has he seen?" Ahsoka pressed, sensing important information beneath the fanatical phrasing. The man's body suddenly convulsed, foam appearing at his mouth corners as his eyes rolled back. Before they could intervene, he collapsed entirely. Vital signs rapidly failing despite Hinata's immediate medical response. "Self-termination seal," she reported grimly. "Activated remotely or by specific thought patterns. There's nothing I can do." The remaining captives exhibited similar symptoms seconds later, leaving them with no conscious informants. Naruto's expression darkened with anger and regret, not the reaction of someone hardened to death, but of one who valued life consistently regardless of circumstance. "Ketsuki," he repeated the name, committing it to memory. "Another power-hungry manipulator using others as disposable tools." Quote, "They secured the area and sent one Anbu operative to request extraction support for the deceased captives. Valuable forensic information might still be obtained through examination." The remaining team completed documentation of the anchor point, Naruto carefully deactivating residual energy pathways to return the site to dormancy. As night fell, they established Lish to secure camp some distance from the valley, maintaining heightened vigilance against potential return of hostile forces. R7 utilized enhanced scanning protocols to monitor the surrounding area, while the team reviewed their findings and implications. This Ketsuki clearly has resources and organization, Ahsoka observed as they gathered around tactical displays projected by R7. The Taiman G suggests he's been monitoring dimensional energy patterns since before your activation of the Forest of Death site. Orochimaru had extensive research on interdimensional theory, Hinata added. This Ketsuki inherited his knowledge base but operates with different objectives. We need to accelerate our timeline, Naruto concluded. Secure the remaining anchor points before his forces can establish control. Whatever he's planning involves access to your dimension, Ahsoka, and I doubt his intentions are diplomatic. The Anbu captain returned from communicating with Konoha, bringing updated instructions from Kakashi. Hokage-sama has dispatched additional teams to the other anchor points. We're to proceed to the northern site after completing documentation here, while specialized units secure this location. Their planning continued late into the night, adapting to this new threat while integrating discoveries about the anchor network's functionality. Ahsoka contributed ICAL assessments based on her military experience, while Naruto and Hinata provided cultural and technical context regarding potential adversaries. Later, during her watch shift, Ahsoka found Naruto seated at the camp's edge. Gazing toward the valley with troubled expression, she settled beside him, respecting his contemplative silence until he chose to speak. I've been thinking about what that sound shinobi said, he eventually offered, about what waits, in the spaces between dimensions. It reminds me of what we glimpsed fighting Kagaya, other worlds, other realities beyond our own. NY cultures across the galaxy have concepts of spaces between conventional reality, Ahsoka noted. The Jedi speak of vergences in the Force where traditional boundaries grow thin. The Night Sisters of Dathomir believed in a spirit realm, accessible through specific rituals. When I was younger, threats seemed simpler, Naruto admitted. Protect the village, defeat the bad guy, work toward peace. Now, he gestured toward the star-filled sky. Dimensions beyond our own, civilizations spanning galaxies, powers even the sage of six paths might not have fully understood. Feeling overwhelmed is natural, Ahsoka assured him. But remember, fundamentally, the challenges remain the same. Protect what matters. Confront those who would dominate others. Maintain balance between competing forces. Naruto considered her words, his expression gradually shifting from troubled to resolved. You're right. The scale changes, but the principles don't. He turned toward her with renewed determination. Whatever Ketsuki has planned, whatever exists between dimensions, we'll face it together. Not just you and me, but everyone who values freedom and balance. His conviction resonated in the Force. With remarkable clarity, not naive optimism but hard-earned faith in possibility forged through previous trials. Ahsoka found herself drawing strength from his certainty, her own perspective shifting. Subtly as she recognized the wisdom beneath his straightforward approach. Together, she agreed, feeling something shift between them, mutual respect deepening into genuine connection based on shared values rather than circumstantial alliance. Morning brought extraction teams from Konoha, allowing smooth transition of site security while their core group prepared to continue toward the northern anchor point. Before departing, Naruto performed one final check of the valley's energy configuration, ensuring dormancy protocols remained active. As they traveled northward, Ahsoka reflected on how quickly her perspective had evolved since arriving in this dimension. What began as disorienting crisis had transformed into purposeful mission alongside allies she increasingly respected. The Force worked in mysterious ways indeed, bringing her to this precise place and time when her experience might prove crucial in maintaining balance between worlds. The threat posed by Ketsuki remained undefined yet palpable, another power seeker attempting to exploit cosmic forces beyond conventional understanding. Throughout galactic history, such individuals had caused immeasurable suffering in pursuit of dominance. Whether through Sith teachings, technological supremacy, or political manipulation. Yet alongside this familiar pattern of threat emerged something equally familiar yet previously elusive in Ahsoka's experience. Genuine partnership based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical authority or temporary necessity. Naruto's approach to leadership emphasized individual strengths in collective purpose, valuing Hinata's perceptive insights as highly as Anbu combat capabilities or Ahsoka's force expertise. Their journey continued through changing landscapes, forests giving way to grasslands, then gradually transitioning to rockier terrain as they approached mountain regions. Throughout these environmental shifts, the team maintained efficient movement and effective communication, adapting to challenges with complementary skills. During a brief rest period overlooking a particularly spectacular mountain vista, Hinata approached Ahsoka with uncharacteristic hesitation. "May I ask you something personal?" she inquired softly. "Of course," Ahsoka replied, curious about what this perceptive woman might want to discuss. Hinata considered her words carefully before continuing. "In your tradition, the Jedi way, attachments were discouraged, correct? Emotional connections viewed as potential weaknesses." "Yes," Ahsoka confirmed. "The Order believed passionate attachments could lead to fear of loss, which might then lead to selfish decisions or even darker emotions. Yet you left that tradition behind," Hinata observed. "Have your views on attachment changed as a result?" The question's underlying motivation became clearer. This wasn't abstract philosophical inquiry but something personally significant to Hinata. Ahsoka responded with corresponding thoughtfulness. "I've come to believe the Jedi were simultaneously right and wrong," she explained. "Attachment can indeed lead to fear, and fear to poor decisions. But the answer isn't avoiding connection, it's learning to love without possessiveness, to care deeply while accepting impermanence." Hinata nodded slowly, absorbing this perspective. "In our world, shinobi face similar questions. Some believe emotional detachment makes for more effective warriors. Others maintain that protecting what we love gives us necessary strength." "And what do you believe?" Ahsoka asked gently. A subtle smile curved Hinata's lips. "I believe love is never wasted, even when not returned as we might hope. True strength comes from connection, not isolation." Her pale eyes drifted briefly toward where Naruto stood conferring with the Anbu captain. "Sometimes loving someone means supporting their journey wherever it leads, even if that path diverges from our own." The conversation revealed depths to Hinata that Ahsoka hadn't fully appreciated, a philosophical maturity and emotional wisdom that complemented her formidable combat capabilities. It also illuminated the complex personal dynamics underlying their mission group, suggesting Hinata perceived evolving connections between Naruto and Ahsoka with remarkable grace. Their journey resumed with renewed purpose, each step bringing them closer to the RTHERN anchor point, and whatever confrontation awaited them there. As mountains rose around them like ancient guardians of forgotten knowledge, Ahsoka felt the force flowing with increasing intensity, as though the very landscape recognized the significance of their mission. Whatever lay ahead, dimensional threats, power-seeking adversaries, or unforeseen challenges, they would face it together, guided by principles that transcended the boundaries between their worlds: balance, respect, protection of the vulnerable, and the quiet, persistent hope that harmony might eventually prevail across all dimensions. Chapter 2 End Chapter 3 Worlds Collide. The northern anchor point resided deep within the land of iron snow-covered mountains, its location marked only by ancient stone monuments buried beneath centuries of accumulated ice. Wind howled between jagged peaks, carrying crystalline particles that sparkled like diamond dust in the pale winter sunlight. Unlike the previous site's their natural integration into the landscape, this anchor manifested as a stark, geometric anomaly, a perfect hexagonal platform carved from blue-black stone that absorbed rather than reflected light. Naruto stood at its center, breath-forming clouds in the frigid air as he studied the faded inscriptions. 3 days had passed since their confrontation with Ketsuki's followers at the River Valley site. Intelligence from Konoha confirmed coordinated activity at all remaining anchor points, their adversary moving pieces across a cosmic chessboard with clear strategic intent. "The markings are different here," he observed, crouching to trace patterns with gloved fingers. "More aggressive somehow." Ahsoka nodded, her montrals partially wrapped against the bitter cold. "This site feels different in the force, more focused. Almost like a directed beam rather than the omnidirectional resonance of previous anchors." They weren't alone at this remote location. In addition to Hinata, our team had expanded to include Shikamaru, whose tactical brilliance proved invaluable against Ketsuki's organized opposition, and Sai, whose specialized sealing techniques offered additional security against dimensional manipulation. Two samurai from the Land of Iron provided regional expertise and diplomatic connection to General Mifune's forces. R7 projected holographic comparisons between the anchor sites they'd documented, highlighting structural differences and energy flow patterns. The droid had adapted remarkably well to the harsh environment, internal heating systems maintaining operational temperature despite external conditions. It's a directional gateway, Shikamaru concluded after studying the projections. The other anchors create stable exchange points between dimensions. This one's designed specifically for outbound travel. Like a launch platform, Sai added, his artistic sensibilities recognizing intentional design elements. The user stands here, channels energy along these pathways, and projects themselves into the target dimension. Naruto exchanged meaningful glances with Ahsoka. Over the past weeks, they'd developed an almost intuitive communication that transcended their different origins. Both recognized the strategic implications immediately. Ketsuki wants access to Ahsoka's galaxy, Naruto stated plainly. That's why his forces prioritized capturing me and Ahsoka. He needs both chakra and force abilities to activate the directional gateway. Which means we have an opportunity, Ahsoka responded, her strategic mind rapidly calculating possibilities. If we control the first crossing, we establish parameters for future interactions between dimensions. You're suggesting a preemptive expedition, Shikamaru observed, expression thoughtful rather than surprised. Troublesome, but logical. Better to explore controlled dimensional travel ourselves than allow Ketsuki first access. Hinata activated her Byakugan, studying the anchor's energy structure with her unique perception. The pathways are intact but dormant. With proper preparation, stable transition should be possible. Discussion evolved into planning as they consider logistics for unprecedented interdimensional travel. Shikamaru's methodical approach balanced Naruto's intuitive problem-solving, while Ahsoka provided critical insights about their potential destination. R7 projected navigational calculations based on quantum resonance patterns, suggesting specific coordinates within the galactic region Ahsoka identified as likely arrival points. We need a focused team, Naruto decided as plans solidified. Small enough to move discreetly, diverse enough to handle unknown variables. You, me, Hinata, and R7 as the core group, Ahsoka suggested. Shikamaru coordinates from this side, maintaining communication protocols and extraction options with size ceiling support. The samurai representatives observed with stoic expressions, though their postu conveyed clear interest in these extraordinary developments. After conferring briefly, the senior warrior addressed the group. General Mifune offers secure operational headquarters within Iron Fortress. Neutral territory provides diplomatic advantages for potential interdimensional contact. This practical solution addressed several logistical concerns simultaneously. The Land of Iron's neutrality in shinobi conflicts made it ideal for coordination without political complications, while its formidable natural defenses and samurai protection would secure the anchor site during their expedition. As preparations accelerated over subsequent days, specialists arrived from Konoha bearing equipment specifically designed for the mission. Sakura brought medical supplies incorporating Tsunade's latest research into dimensional transition effects on biological systems. Tenten delivered customized weapons designed to function in potentially different physical environments. Yamanaka Ino performed specialized mental reinforcement techniques to protect against possible psychic disorientation during transition. Throughout these preparations, tension between urgency and caution created productive friction. Each specialist contributed unique perspective while respecting others' expertise, a hallmark of Konoha's collaborative approach that Ahsoka found increasingly admirable. The night before their scheduled departure, Naruto stood alone on the fortress balcony overlooking moonlit mountains. His breath crystallized in the frigid air as he contemplated the journey ahead, not just physical travel between dimensions, but crossing a threshold into truly unknown territory. Despite facing godlike entities and participating in reality-warping conflicts, this represented something entirely different, deliberate expansion beyond the boundaries of his known universe. He sensed Ahsoka's approach before hearing her footsteps. Her force presence had become as familiar to him as any chakra signature. She joined him at the stone railing, her own breath forming delicate clouds that dispersed in the gentle wind. Second thoughts? She asked without preamble. No, he answered honestly. Just appreciating the magnitude of what we're attempting. Silence stretched between them, comfortable rather than awkward. They'd developed an easy companionship over weeks of shared training. And challenges. Her measured wisdom complementing his instinctive approach to problems, his unflagging optimism balancing her hard-earned caution. I've been thinking about what awaits us, Ahsoka eventually said. My galaxy is complicated, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Thousands of cultures spread across countless worlds, technology beyond anything in your dimension, conflicts spanning entire star systems. Naruto nodded, absorbing her words. Not so different from here, except in scale. People still wanting peace but fighting wars, seeking connection but building walls, hoping for better futures while struggling with painful pasts. His simple yet profound observation drew a surprised smile from Ahsoka. Sometimes I forget you've faced your own version of dimensional gods and cosmic conflicts. Just with less space travel and laser swords, he replied with a hint of his old mischievous grin. Their conversation shifted to practical matters, final preparations, contingency plans, communication protocols. The easy flow of ideas between them reflected weeks of intensive training where Naruto had absorbed force techniques with remarkable speed while Ahsoka had adapted to chakra concepts with disciplined precision. Neither fully mastered the other's native energy system, but both had developed functional hybridization that would serve them in unknown conditions. Dawn broke clear and cold over the mountain fortress, sunlight refracting through ice crystals to create rainbow halos around distant peaks. The expedition team gathered at the anchor platform, Naruto, Ahsoka, Hinata, and R7 equipped for interdimensional travel with specialized gear and supplies. Shikamaru directed final preparations while Sai established sealing arrays designed to stabilize the dimensional aperture during and after transition. Communication scrolls are keyed to specific chakra signatures, Sakura explained, distributing specially prepared documents. They should maintain quantum entanglement across dimensional barriers, allowing text exchange at 12-hour intervals. Theoretical text exchange, Shikamaru amended with characteristic caution. No guarantees until tested under actual conditions. Naruto accepted his scroll with appropriate seriousness, securing it in an inner pocket of his specialized jacket, a redesigned version of his traditional orange and black attire. Now incorporating protective elements against unknown environmental hazards while maintaining familiar comfort. Hinata stood slightly apart, making final adjustments to her equipment with methodical precision. Her traditional Hyuga garments had been modified for the expedition, reinforced battle mesh beneath flowing garments designed for maximum mobility while projecting appropriate diplomatic presence. Her Byakugan would provide crucial sensory capabilities in unfamiliar territory, complementing Ahsoka's force perception and Naruto's sage abilities. R7 chirped final diagnostic confirmations. Compartments loaded with specialized equipment including dimensional sensors, medical supplies, and communication technology adapted to function across reality barriers. The astromech had become an integral team member, its problem-solving capabilities and technical knowledge earning genuine respect from the shinobi despite their limited previous exposure to advanced robotics. As departure time approached, Kakashi arrived via transportation jutsu, his appearance generating momentary surprise among the assembled specialists. Didn't think I'd miss seeing off the first official interdimensional diplomatic mission. Did you? He asked with characteristic eye crinkle suggesting hidden smile. His presence carried significance beyond mere ceremonial observation. As Hokage, his dance established formal sanction for the expedition, transforming potential rogue operation into officially recognized mission with corresponding protections and responsibilities. The council sends their regards, he continued, addressing the core team, also their expectations for detailed reports, establishment of beneficial relationships, and preferably no declaration of interdimensional war. We'll do our best on all counts. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto promised with appropriate gravity, though the familiar form of address revealed enduring respect beyond official titles. Final farewells, preceded with shinobi efficiency, brief embraces, meaningful nods, concise words carrying emotional weight through understatement rather than elaborate expression. Sakura hugged Naruto fiercely before offering Ahsoka a respectful bow that evolved into unexpected embrace, symbolizing acceptance of the interdimensional visitor as trusted comrade rather than temporary ally. Bring them back safely, she instructed Ahsoka with friendly authority that barely masked genuine concern. I will, Ahsoka promised, recognizing the trust being placed in her guidance. The departure team took positions at specific points on the hexagonal platform, arranged according to calculations derived from ancient inscriptions and R7's projections. Naruto stood at the center, while Ahsoka, Hinata, and R7 occupied precisely determined points along energy channel pathways. Sai completed the stabilization seals, brushing flowing characters with chakra-infused ink that gleamed momentarily before sinking into the stone surface. Anchoring matrix established, he reported with quiet professionalism. Temporal variance constrained within acceptable parameters. Shikamaru conducted final communication checks, on firming functionality of specialized equipment before stepping clear of the activation zone. Troublesome as it seems, I believe you're actually ready, he concluded with dry humor masking genuine concern. Naruto took a deep breath, centering himself as he had practiced during intensive training sessions. The dual energies within him, chakra and force, responded with increasing harmony as his control had refined over weeks of dedicated practice. Where once they had flowed as separate currents, now they intertwined in complex patterns that neither tradition had previously achieved. Begin activation sequence, he instructed calmly. Hinata channeled precise amounts of chakra into designated pathways, her Byakugan monitoring energy flow with unparalleled accuracy. R7 emitted calibrated harmonic frequencies that resonated with specific platform sections, creating standing wave patterns that matched ancient design specifications. Ahsoka established force meditation that harmonized dimensional frequencies, her connection to both her native galaxy and current location creating essential bridge between realities. At the center, Naruto performed a complex sequence combining hand signs with force gestures, gradually building layered energy patterns that spiraled outward from his core. Golden chakra intertwined with blue-white force energy, forming luminous strands that extended along platform inscriptions, activating dormant systems with steadily increasing power. Unlike the chaotic rift that had brought Ahsoka to the ninja world, this activation proceeded with controlled precision, methodical, deliberate. Each stage building upon previous elements according to ancient design parameters interpreted through modern understanding. The platform responded with corresponding predictability, ancient symbols illuminating in concentric patterns as dormant systems awakened after centuries of inactivity. Wind swirled around the platform, carrying snowflakes in spiraling patterns at traced energy flows visible only to enhanced perception. The air above the center began to shimmer, distorting light in increasingly structured patterns rather than chaotic disruption. Stars became visible despite daylight, appearing within the developing aperture as pinpoints of light from another reality entirely. Dimensional resonance established, Ahsoka reported, her voice steady despite the extraordinary energies flowing through and around her. Gateway configuration stabilizing within projected parameters. Byakugan confirms pathway formation, Hinata added, her enhanced vision perceiving energy structures beyond normal limitations. Destination coordinates aligning with R7's calculations. The aperture expanded gradually, transforming from mere visual distortion to defined portal approximately 3 meters in diameter. Through its shimmering surface appeared unfamiliar stars against velvet darkness, a view of space from Ahsoka's home galaxy, positioned according to coordinates R7 had calculated based on resonance patterns between anchor points. Final stabilization, Naruto directed, his voice carrying calm authority despite the swirling energies responding to his guidance. With practiced synchronization, all 4 team members adjusted their energy contributions, reinforcing the portal's structural integrity while Sai activated perimeter seals designed to maintain stable configuration after their departure. The gateway responded with increased definition, its edges firming from nebulous boundary to precise demarcation between dimensions. Portal stability confirmed, Shikamaru announced after consulting sensor readings. Transition window approximately 60 seconds before recalibration requirement. Naruto met each team member's eyes in turn, receiving confirmation of readiness. With final nod to those remaining behind, he stepped forward into the shimmering gateway, followed immediately by Ahsoka, then Hinata, with R7 rolling through last as programmed. Transition between dimensions defied conventional description. For Naruto, it manifested as momentary sensory distortion, simultaneous expansion and compression, as though every atom of his being existed in multiple states before resolving into singular coherence. Colors beyond normal perception flashed through his awareness, accompanied by sounds that seemed to originate from within rather than without. Time stretched and contracted, seconds extending to subjective eternity before snapping back to normal continuity. Then, suddenly, solid ground beneath his feet, smooth stone rather than rough mountain platform. Air filled his lungs, recycled and processed rather than natural mountain freshness. Gravity pulled slightly lighter than moments before. Light, artificial and directional, replaced natural sunshine. They had arrived in what appeared to be ancient ruins, a circular chamber with high ceilings supported by massive columns inscribed with unfamiliar yet somehow recognizable symbols. The air smelled of dust and age, with underlying metallic notes suggesting technological systems long dormant. Dim emergency lighting cast long shadows across worn stone floors, while distant mechanical humming indicated some systems remained operational despite apparent abandonment. "Where are we?" Naruto asked, voice hushed in the cavernous space. "Jedi Temple," Ahsoka answered with equal quietness, her expression reflecting complex emotions as she recognized architectural elements. Ancient One, possibly pre-Republic era based on design patterns. "These column inscriptions are similar to texts I studied on Titan." Hinata activated her Byakugan, scanning their surroundings with characteristic thoroughness. Complex structure extending approximately 2 kilometers in all directions. Minimal power signatures active. No life forms detected within immediate vicinity. R7 emitted soft, questioning beeps as internal systems recalibrated to native technological environment. The droid rolled forward cautiously, sensors scanning inscriptions with evident interest as recognition protocols matched patterns against internal databases. R7 confirms we're on Jeddah, Ahsoka Trancel, aided after interpreting the droid's binary communication. Moon with significant Force tradition, home to multiple Force-sensitive orders including early Jedi settlements. Strategic position achieved, Hinata noted with quiet satisfaction. Arrival coordinates matched targeting parameters within acceptable variance. Their initial assessment paused as R7 projected holographic star charts showing their position relative to known galactic features. The blue-tinged projection illuminated ancient walls with ghostly light as it displayed their location in a remote sector of the galaxy, distant from major political centers yet historically significant in Force tradition. "We're approximately 30 parsecs from established hyperspace routes," Ahsoka explained, studying the projection with professional assessment. "Remote enough to avoid immediate Imperial attention, connected enough to access necessary resources if we locate functional transportation." Naruto absorbed this information, while examining their arrival chamber with growing interest. Unlike the mountain platform's utilitarian design, this space incorporated elaborate artistic elements alongside functional components, murals depicting robed figures channeling energy, statues in meditative poses, and most significantly, symbols that closely resembled those from the Uzumaki scroll. "Look at this," he called, approaching a particular wall section where familiar spiral patterns intertwined with astronomical symbols. "These are Uzumaki sealing techniques, but integrated with what must be Jedi designs." Ahsoka joined him, expression shifting to intense focus as she recognized implications. "You're right. These patterns match early Jedi meditation diagrams, but with elements I've never seen in conventional texts." Her fingers traced specific symbols with reverent care. "This supports Kenshin's account. He didn't simply found the Jedi Order, he integrated knowledge from your world into its foundational practices." Their exploration continued with methodical thoroughness, documenting connections between familiar and unfamiliar elements throughout the ancient temple. Hinata's Byakugan proved invaluable, identifying hidden chambers and passageways beneath centuries of accumulated debris. R7 recorded everything, building comprehensive records while cross-referencing with historical databases stored in its memory systems. Hours passed as they penetrated deeper into the complex, transitioning from ceremonial spaces to what appeared to be living quarters, training facilities, and eventually a central library chamber with damaged but partially functional data systems. R7 connected to ancient terminals, bypassing deteriorated components through creative technical solutions that impressed even Hinata's meticulous standards. The droid has established partial access to historical archives, she reported, observing information flowing across holographic displays. Fragmented but potentially valuable historical records. R7's electronic communication expressed frustration with data corruption alongside cautious optimism about recovery possibilities. The ancient systems had implemented remarkable preservation protocols, maintaining core information despite centuries of neglect. As R7 worked to extract usable data, they explored the library chamber more thoroughly. Crystalline storage devices lined recessed shelves, their surfaces etched with cataloging symbols in multiple ancient languages. Meditation alcoves positioned at cardinal points suggested the space served both scholarly and spiritu. Functions. Knowledge and wisdom considered complementary pursuits rather than separate disciplines. This place feels balanced, Naruto observed, sensitive to the energy patterns permeating the chamber. Not just light side focused like Ahsoka described traditional Jedi temples. You're right, Ahsoka confirmed, her own force sensitivity detecting nuances she hadn't initially recognized. Quote, most Jedi facilities I've visited emphasized specifically light side energies. This place acknowledges both aspects while maintaining equilibrium. Their discussion paused as R7 emitted triumphant electronic tones, successfully recovering critical historical records from deteriorated systems. The droid projected recovered data as holographic text and images, displaying information about the temple's founding and purpose. According to these records, Ahsoka translated, this facility was established by Kenshin Uzumaki, recorded here as Kenshi of the Spiral Path, approximately 4,000 years ago. It served as a training center for what he called balance seekers, force practitioners who studied both light and dark aspects while maintaining internal harmony. Different from mainstream Jedi philosophy, Naruto noted, connecting this information with what they'd learned from the Uzumaki scroll. Significantly different, Ahsoka agreed, continuing to translate as R7 displayed additional records. These texts suggest Kenshi taught that complete rejection of any aspect of the Force created dangerous imbalance. His followers were trained to acknowledge darker emotions, fear, anger, attachment, while channeling them constructively rather than suppressing or indulging them. Like my relationship with Kurama, Naruto observed, not denying the darker power, but finding harmony with it. Their research continued as R7 recovered additional historical context. The balance seekers had apparently operated independently from the developing Jedi Order, maintaining their distinct philosophical approach while occasionally exchanging knowledge with mainstream traditions. Their practices incorporated elements recognizable as modified ninjutsu alongside conventional force techniques, creating hybrid approaches that optimized strengths from both traditions. Most significantly, the records referenced periodic dimensional travelers, individuals who crossed between worlds through carefully maintained pathways, exchanging knowledge and maintaining connections between realities. These crossings occurred at specifically calculated intervals when cosmic alignments facilitated stable transition, managed through cooperative efforts on both sides. The dimensional network functioned as designed for nearly 2,000 years, Ahsoka summarized after reviewing comprehensive timeline data. Then something happened, some catastrophic event that damaged the system and severed regular contact. R7 projected fragmentary records from this critical period, showing increasingly disparate communications regarding dimensional disturbance and cosmic imbalance, threatening both realities. The final records described emergency protocols implemented to seal dimensional pathways against unspecified corruption attempting to spread between worlds. There's our connection to Kagaya, Naruto realized, the historical pieces aligning with known events from his world. The timeline TCHES when she first appeared in our dimension, consuming the god tree's fruit and threatening humanity. The sealing of dimensional pathways explains why knowledge of the connection faded into legend in both worlds, Hinata added. Her analytical mind connecting disparate elements into coherent narrative. Without regular contact, each dimension's understanding of the other degraded into myth over generations. Their historical investigation paused as R7 alerted them to recovered star charts showing locations of other balance seeker temples throughout the galaxy. Most appeared in remote regions. deliberately positioned away from developing political centers while maintaining connection to naturally occurring force nexuses. Strategic positioning, Hinata observed, studying the distribution pattern. These locations collectively form a stable geometric configuration across galactic coordinates. Similar to the anchor point pattern in our world, Naruto noted, recognizing the significant parallel. Maintaining dimensional harmony required balanced energy distribution across both realities. Their discussion shifted toward practical considerations as R7 completed data extraction from the ancient systems. The temple's remote location provided temporary security, but long-term objectives required movement toward more populated regions where they could gather current information on and potentially locate allies against both Imperial forces and whatever interdimensional threat Ketsuki represented. R7 has identified a settlement approximately 30 kilometers from our position. Ahsoka reported after conferring with the droid. Small trading outpost with minimal Imperial presence according to last updated records. Potential source for transportation and current intelligence. Before we leave, we should establish secure base here, Hinata suggested. The temple's energy configuration provides natural camouflage against conventional detection methods, and its connection to the dimensional network makes it ideal for potential return crossing. Agreement reached. They implemented efficient division of responsibilities, Hinata securing perimeter areas with speciality Z barrier techniques adapted from Hyuga clan protections, Naruto establishing energy connection to maintain dimensional resonance for potential communications, Ahsoka and R7 salvaging useful techno OGY and information from remaining functional systems. As preparations continued, Naruto found himself drawn to a specific meditation chamber adjacent to the main library. Unlike other spaces, this room featured a circular platform reminiscent of the anchor points in his home dimension, though smaller and integrated into the floor rather than freestanding. Concentric circles of unknown material radiated outward from the center, inscribed with symbols that combined Uzumaki sealing techniques with Jedi and other unfamiliar writing systems. A personal meditation focus, Ahsoka explained, finding him studying the installation with evident fascination. Advanced Force users sometimes create specialized environments that enhance specific aspects of Force connection. It's resonating with something in me, Naruto observed, feeling subtle vibration between the platform and his own dual energy systems. Like it recognizes the combined chakra and Force signature. Try connecting with it, she suggested. These systems were designed for those with Kenshin's integrated abilities, which now includes you. After brief consideration, Naruto settled into meditative position at the platform's center. Assuming the balanced posture Ahsoka had taught him during their training sessions. Rather than standard meditation approach, however, he intuitively placed both palms against the platform surface, channeling small amounts of simultaneously activated chakra and Force energy. The response was immediate and dramatic. Concentric circles illuminated in sequence from center outward, ancient systems reactivating with surprising functionality despite centuries of dormancy. The chamber's lighting shifted to golden warmth as previously invisible wall sections revealed elaborate murals depicting historical events from both dimensions, shinobi forming energy constructs alongside Jedi channeling Force techniques, cooperative efforts addressing shared challenges across reality boundaries. Most significantly, the platform projected a holographic representation of interconnected dimensional pathways, a complex, three-dimensional map showing stable transition points between realities along the naturally occurring resonance locations where boundaries thinned without direct intervention. The projection highlighted active and dormant pathways, revealing the dimensional network's true scope. Extended far beyond the anchor points they'd already identified. This is incredible, Ahsoka breathed, studying the projection with undisguised wonder. Complete dimensional cartography extending across multiple reality planes. The scientific value alone is beyond calculation. Hinata, drawn by the activation's energy signature, joined them with characteristic quiet grace. Her Byakugan activate automatically in response to the unusual energy patterns, allowing her unique perspective on the phenomenon. The pathways aren't just spatial connections, she observed, perceiving aspects invisible to conventional senses. They're temporally anchored as well, maintaining dimensional synchronization despite relative chronological drift between realities. Their collective analysis continued SR-7 recorded detailed measurements for future reference. The holographic map revealed both promise and concern. While numerous potential transit points existed between dimensions, several showed signs of instability or external manipulation. Particularly troubling were indications of deliberate interference at specific junctures, suggesting Ketsuki's activities extended beyond their immediate awareness. He's been exploring dimensional boundaries longer than we realized, Naruto concluded, studying disturbance patterns with growing concern. These disruption signatures suggest systematic testing of different access methodologies. Quote, which means our timeline may be shorter than anticipated, Ahsoka added, strategic mind immediately calculating implications. If he's already identified viable transit methods, full-scale incursion could be imminent rather than theoretical. This sobering assessment accelerated their preparation timeline. While dimensional cartography provided valuable strategic information, immediate practical needs required engagement with local resources in this galaxy. After securing the temple with both traditional sealing techniques and adapted force protections, they prepared for expedition to the nearby settlement. Clothing and equipment required careful consideration for this first contact with local population. Ahsoka's appearance, while distinctive, would not attract undue attention in a trading outpost accustomed to diverse species. Naruto and Hinata, however, needed appropriate attire to blend with local fashion without sacrificing functional combat readiness. These should help, Ahsoka suggested, retrieving garments from storage areas that had preserved contents remarkably well through specialized stasis fields. Balance Seeker robes were designed for practicality while maintaining low profile in diverse environments. The provided clothing proved surprisingly suitable, neutral-colored tunic and pants for Naruto, similar ensemble with hooded overgarment for Hinata. Both incorporated subtle armor elements while allowing full mobility, with multiple concealed compartments for equipment and weapons. Most importantly, the designs avoided distinctive elements that would immediately identify them as foreigners unfamiliar with local customs. How do I look? Naruto asked after changing, performing experimental movements to confirm. The unfamiliar garments wouldn't restrict combat effectiveness. Like you might almost blend in somewhere other than a high-security Imperial facility, Ahsoka replied with good-natured teasing that barely masked genuine appreciation for his adaptability. Their final preparations completed efficiently, with R7 configured to project minimum operational signature while maintaining essential functionality. The droid carried crucial historical data alongside practical navigation information, serving as mobile information repository and technical support simultaneously. Departure from the temple proceeded with appropriate caution, Hinata's Byakugan confirming absence of immediate threats while Ahsoka's force sensitivity monitored for less tangible dangers. The landscape surrounding the ancient T structure proved harshly beautiful, windswept plateau overlooking rugged canyons, sparse vegetation clinging to stone surfaces with stubborn determination. Distant formations suggested previous habitation on much larger scale, though centuries of erosion had reduced once impressive structures to weathered remnants. They traveled light and fast, adopting movement patterns that balanced speed with energy conservation. Jedha's slightly lower gravity provided subtle advantage for shinobi accustomed to chakra-enhanced mobility, allowing longer jumps and quicker recovery between exertions. R7 Mana G'd surprisingly well across difficult terrain, previously unutilized mobility features deploying to navigate obstacles that would have challenged conventional wheeled transport. As distance from the temple increased, conversation naturally turned toward strategy for their first contact with this galaxy's current civilization. Ahsoka provided cultural briefing covering essential protocols and potential complications, emphasizing aspects most likely to differ from shinobi world expectations. Currency is standardized across most systems, she explained as they navigated a particularly challenging canyon crossing. Imperial credits are universal exchange medium, though remote outposts often maintain parallel local systems. R7 carries sufficient emergency funds for basic necessities. What about languages? Hinata inquired practically. Our ability to communicate with you seems unusually fluid considering dimensional differences. That's actually a significant question, Ahsoka acknowledged thoughtfully. Basic, the common language of the galaxy, shares syntactic structures with your language despite evolving in completely separate dimensions. It suggests Kenshin's influence extend D to linguistic elements alongside philosophical and technical knowledge transfer. This observation prompted deeper discussion about fundamental connections between dimensions, shared conceptual frameworks manifesting through parallel development patterns despite physical separation. Such philosophical exploration made the journey seem shorter, difficult terrain passing beneath their feet while MINDS engaged with larger implications of their unprecedented situation. By late afternoon, according to local chronometry, they approached the settlement's outskirts, a sprawling collection of mismatched structures nestled within natural rock formations providing both protection from harsh elements and defensive advantages against potential attackers. Even from distance, cultural diversity was immediately apparent. Beings of various species moving through markets and gathering areas, different architectural styles reflecting multiple world origins, and most significantly, technology levels varying from primitive mechanical devices to sophisticated electronic systems. Stay close, Ahsoka advised as they prepared to enter populated areas. Outpost settlements operate under loose authority structures, technically imperial jurisdiction but practically self-governing through local power dynamics. Avoid unnecessary attention while we gather information and assess transportation options. Al approach revealed settlement significantly larger than initially indicated by ancient records, clearly expanded over intervening centuries as regional importance increased through changing trade patterns. Security appeared minimal but present, with armed individuals stationed at primary access points performing cursory inspection of arriving visitors. Customs checkpoint, Ahsoka explained quietly. Standard procedure even in remote locations. Follow my lead, speak only when necessary. Their group approached the designated entry point with calculated casualness, not hurried yet not hesitant. Projecting confidence without aggression, Ahsoka handled interaction with professional ease, presenting identification documents R7 had prepared using salvaged temple authorization codes modified to reflect current formatting standards. Researcher group, she explained to the bored-looking official, a green-skinned humanoid with elongated fingers who barely glanced at presented credentials. Quote, cataloging historical sites for university archives. Archaeological permit fees paid in advance. The official inquired with tone suggesting answer mattered significantly more than actual research purpose. R7 projected appropriate documentation showing credited account transfers, prompting perfunctory approval gesture from the official who waved them through with minimal additional scrutiny. Casual efficiency of the interaction suggested routine processing rather than genuine security concern. Administrative procedure maintained primarily for revenue generation through associated fees. Beyond the checkpoint, settlement proper revealed itself in chaotic splendor. Narrow streets winding between structures of wildly varying design and material, market stalls displaying goods from countless worlds. Beings of dozens of species engaged in commerce, conversation, and occasional heated dispute. Smells both enticing and questionable filled the air alongside sounds ranging from melodious alien music to harsh mechanical clanging from repair facilities. For Naruto and Hinata, the sensory experience proved simultaneously overwhelming and fascinating, familiar human behavioral patterns pressed through profoundly unfamiliar cultural frameworks. Their shinobi training provided valuable foundation for maintaining composed exterior despite internal adjustment to these extraordinary circumstances. Local hospitality options will be limited but functional, Ahsoka noted as they navigated through crowded marketplaces. We need secure lodging, current information sources, and transportation assessment. R7 led them toward a modest establishment several streets removed from main thoroughfares, a two-story structure with weather-beaten exterior belying surprisingly well-maintained interior spaces. The proprietor, a heavy-set human woman with elaborately braided gray hair, greeted Ahsoka with recognition of experienced traveler rather than tourist. 3 rooms, private facilities, local network access. Ahsoka requested simply, allowing R7 to handle financial transaction details. 2 days minimum, the proprietor responded equally directly. Maintenance scheduled for South Block facilities. Alternate arrangements necessary beyond 48 standard hours. Transaction completed with efficient brevity. They secured adjacent accommodations with connecting interior access. Simple but clean spaces providing necessary privacy for planning alongside security through multiple exit options. R7 immediately established connection with local information networks, filtering OUT-dated temple records against current galactic situation reports available through public and less public channels. Imperial presence heavier than historical patterns suggested, the droid reported after initial analysis. Projecting statistical comparison between expected and actual deployment levels. Recent reinforcement corresponds with increased rebel activity throughout sector. The rebellion grows stronger, Ahsoka observed with cautious optimism. Though increased Imperial response creates additional complications for our objectives. Strategic discussion continued as they established secure operational parameters within their temporary headquarters. Immediate priorities included gathering current intelligence beyond publicly available information, securing appropriate transportation for potential off-world travel, and most importantly, identifying possible allies among local population who might provide assistance without Imperial entanglements. I suggest balanced approach, Hinata offered after considering various options. Naruto-kun and I maintain low profile while gathering general environmental information. Ahsoka-san pursues specific technical objectives with R7's assistance. Limited separation maximizes information gathering while minimizing collective visibility. This logical proposal received general agreement, with specific communication protocols established to maintain coordination despite physical separation. After necessary rest period adjusting to local diurnal cycle, they would implement carefully structured information gathering operation throughout settlement. Evening brought opportunity for cultural acclimation as they ventured into nearby establishments serving food and beverages to diverse clientele. The experience provided valuable exposure to local customs alongside practical necessity of sustenance after dimensional transition and subsequent travel. Naruto approached unfamiliar cuisine with characteristic enthusiasm, while Hinata observed surrounding interactions with analytical precision that missed no significant detail despite her apparent focus on immediate companions. The social dynamics are fascinating, she observed. Ved quietly between sampling exotic dishes with cautious appreciation. Multiple species with drastically different biological requirements coexisting through established protocols that appear informal but follow consistent patterns. Frontier settlements develop practical integration systems out of necessity, Ahsoka explained, selecting menu items familiar from previous experience while ending options likely compatible with human physiology. Official Imperial segregation policies hold less influence this far from administrative centers. Conversation continued with careful balance between genuine cultural exchange and operational planning disguised as casual discussion. Their surroundings provided natural cover for such interaction, the establishment's ambient noise level and diverse clientele ensuring their conversation remained private despite public setting. As evening progressed, Naruto's attention shifted toward specific table near the establishment's rear section. Reanimated discussion had gradually intensified beyond normal conversational parameters. His enhanced senses detected underlying tension suggesting potential conflict development, assessment confirmed by subtle shift in Ahsoka's posture indicating similar awareness. Trouble brewing, he noted casually, maintaining relaxed exterior while internally preparing for possible intervention requirement. The situation escalated moments later as raised voices preceded abrupt movement. A human female with short-cropped, vibrantly colored hair rising from her seat to confront three individuals wearing partial Imperial uniforms. Though not full military personnel, their affiliations appeared clear through distinctive insignia identifying them as Supply Corps representatives. Your requisition shed. Yule is exploitation disguised as administration, the woman declared with fierce intensity belying her relatively small stature. These revised quotas will starve half the settlement before next harvest cycle. Official allocation adjustments reflect current Imperial priorities, the ranking official responded with bureaucratic indifference. Local productivity metrics indicate sufficient capacity for increased contribution. Your metrics ignore basic subsistence requirements, the woman countered, producing data device displaying alternative calculations. These figures deliberately misrepresent sustainable extraction levels. The confrontation continued with increasing hostility, drawing attention from surrounding patrons who displayed varying reactions ranging from concerned and saint to deliberate disengagement suggesting experience with similar previous incidents. Most significantly, Several individuals with concealed weapons subtly reposition for potential involvement should physical conflict develop. Should we intervene? Hinata inquired softly, Byakugan momentarily activating beneath half-closed eyelids to assess tactical situation more comprehensively. Not yet, Ahsoka advised, though her own posture reflected readiness despite apparent casual demeanor. Local dynamics have established resolution patterns. Interference without understanding could create greater complications. The confrontation reached critical threshold as the Imperial representative attempted intimidation through proximity violation, stepping deliberately into the woman's personal space. While subordinates moved to flanking positions. Their target, however, displayed unexpected response to such standard intimidation tactics, shifting stance in manner immediately recognizable to trained combatants as preparation for defensive countermeasures. That's Mandalorian combat positioning, Ahsoka noted with sudden increased interest. Traditional Beskid knife defense configuration. His assessment proved accurate moments later when Imperial personnel attempted physical intimidation through direct contact. The woman's response demonstrated exceptional training, redirecting initial aggressive gesture into compromised balanced position before executing precisely calibrated counterstrike that left the primary aggressor momentarily immobilized through pressure point application rather than injurious force. Last opportunity to continue this conversation through appropriate administrative channels, she informed her opponent with remarkable composure despite tension evident in controlled breathing patterns. Further physical escalation requires incident documentation through official protocols, including medical assessment of any resulting injuries. This professionally delivered warning, combined with demonstrated combat capability, created sufficient deterrent effect to de-escalate immediate confrontation. The Imperial representatives withdrew with minimal additional verbal posturing, though their expressions suggested unresolved hostility likely to manifest through alternative channels. As establishment atmosphere gradually returned to previous conversational patterns, Ahsoka maintained subtle observation of the Mandalorian woman, who returned to her table with composed efficiency suggesting routine experience with similar confrontations. Her companions, a Twi'lek male with unusual scarring patterns and aging human with prosthetic limb enhancements, continued previous discussion with remarkable continuity considering recent interruption. Potential ally, Ahsoka assessed quietly. Mandalorian training combined with resource distribution advocacy suggests possible resistance connections. Worth careful approach. Her chakra flow, or whatever corresponds to it here, shows remarkable discipline. Hinata observed, Byakugan deactivated but insights retained. Combat readiness maintained beneath casual exterior through continuous energy circulation. Her observation confirmed initial assessment as the Mandalorian group concluded their business and prepared to depart. Their movement patterns suggested established security protocols, systematic environmental scanning, coordinated positioning maintaining collective awareness of potential threat vectors, communication through subtle gestural language supplementing verbal exchange. All establish initial contact, Ahsoka decided as operational opportunity presented itself. Her Mandalorian background provides cultural connection point without revealing our primary objectives. Timing her movement perfectly, Ahsoka navigated intercept path that appeared coincidental rather than deliberate, creating natural interaction opportunity as both parties approached exit simultaneously. The resulting brief conversation, conducted in language variant Naruto recognized as distinct from their normal communication, appeared politely casual while conveying something that prompted subtle but definite shift in the Mandalorians' assessment of their group. When Ahsoka returned to their table, her expression suggested qualified success. Her name is Sabine Wren, former Imperial Academy student, Curry. NTLY operating independent logistics consultation business. The deliberately neutral description contained obvious subtext given previous observations. She's agreed to meet tomorrow regarding potent IAL cooperation on historical research transportation requirements. That went easier than expected, Naruto noted, sensing underlying factors beyond simple coincidental opportunity. Mandalorian culture values direct approach within appropriate protocols, Ahsoka explained. Additionally, certain recognition phrases establish trustworthiness through shared connection networks. My previous associations provide credibility her training recognizes as significant. Their evening concluded with strategic planning for the upcoming meeting, each contributing specialized perspective to potential operational parameters. Hinata's observational insights complemented Ahsoka's cultural knowledge, while Naruto's intuitive assessment of character motivation added valuable psychological dimension to their collective analysis. Morning brought renewed activity throughout the settlement as they prepared for the arranged meeting. R7 provided updated intelligence gathered through overnight network infiltration, revealing increased Imperial communication regarding rebel movement throughout the sector alongside seemingly unrelated archaeological expedition authorizations for previously restricted locations. Someone with significant influence is accessing ancient sites, Ahsoka observed, studying authorization patterns displayed in R7's projection. These locations correspond with known Fork E-sensitive ruins including several balance seeker facilities. Ketsuki's influence extends into this dimension already, Naruto concluded, connecting these developments with previously identified dimensional interference patterns. He's established some form of communication or cooperation with local elements. This concerning development added urgency to their planned meeting with Sabine Wren, whose potential alliance represented valuable operational asset beyond simple transportation logistics. As appointed time approached, they secured their temporary headquarters with appropriate precautions before proceeding to designated meeting location, a mechanical repair facility apparently serving as legitimate business front for less official activities. The facility's exterior projected deliberate unremarkability, weathered structural elements and modest signage suggesting marginal economic viability within local commercial ecosystem. Interior spaces revealed different reality entirely. Immaculately maintained equipment organized with military precision, specialized tools suggesting capability for sophisticated technological applications beyond standard mechanical repair, and most significantly, security measures indicating preparation for potential hostile intervention. Sabine Wren greeted them with professional courtesy tinged with cautious assessment. Her appearance in daily GHT revealed additional details obscured during previous evening's encounter. Distinctive Mandalorian armor elements partially concealed beneath practical work clothing, artistic modifications to stand art equipment suggesting personal aesthetic priorities alongside functional considerations, and most notably, exceptional situational awareness reflected through continuous environmental monitoring despite casual conversational manner. Your research expedition requires transportation with specific capabilities, she began without preamble after basic introductions. Fortunately, my associates maintain inventory that might address your requirements. The deliberately structured conversation proceeded through expected negotiation patterns while actual communication occurred through subtle textual references and specific terminology choices indicating mutual recognition of unstated objectives. As discussion progressed, Sabine gradually incorporated more direct references to Imperial activity patterns and corresponding resistance response methodologies, clearly testing their knowledge and alignment through carefully calibrated information exchange. Your historical research focuses on ancient Force traditions, she eventually stated directly, shifting conversation beyond preliminary assessment phase. Particularly interesting timing considering recent Imperial interest in similar locations. Convergent research priorities create resource competition, Ahsoka acknowledged, matching direct approach with appropriate transparency. Our objectives differ significantly from Imperial archaeological methodology. This exchange marked critical transition point from cautious evaluation to potential operational alignment. Sabine's expression reflected recalculation of risk factors alongside opportunity assessment. Her decision process visible through slight postural adjustments signaling increased openness despite maintained security protocols. My vessel can accommodate your research team and equipment, she offered after brief consideration. Specialized modifications support archaeological expedition requirements including unusual specimen transport considerations. The deliberately vague description contained clear subtext regarding capability for transporting individuals with unique characteristics, precisely the arrangement their mission required. Subsequent discussion established practical parameters including financial considerations, departure timeline, and critical security protocols necessary for avoiding unwanted Imperial attention during preparations. As negotiations concluded successfully, conversation shifted toward more substantive information exchange regarding regional situation and potential challenges. Sabine proved exceptionally knowledgeable, Giable about Imperial deployment patterns, suggesting connections to organized resistance networks beyond simple local operations. The Empire has increased presence throughout this sector following several high-profile resource extraction facility incidents, she explained, activating holographic displays showing regional security configuration. Officially attributed to equipment malfunction, AC. Truly coordinated resistance operations targeting supply chain vulnerabilities. You seem remarkably well informed about classified Imperial security assessments, Ahsoka observed with deliberate neutrality. Sabine's response combined professional confidence with underlying intensity reflecting personal investment beyond practical considerations. Information represents primary tactical advantage in asymmetric conflict scenarios. My background provides certain analytical perspectives regarding Imperial operational methodologies. This oblique reference to her Imperial Academy history suggested complex personal narrative likely involving principled defection rather than simple criminal divergence. Assessment supported by her evident commitment to local welfare demonstrated during preview. This evening's confrontation regarding resource allocation policies. Their discussion continued with increasing candor as mutual trust developed through structured information exchange. Sabine revealed carefully selected details about regional resistance activities while Ahsoka shared appropriately contextualized information regarding their research objectives. Naruto and Hinata contributed relevant observations while maintaining their established cover as specialized research assistants from distant academic institution. As meeting concluded with confirmed arrangements for departure within 48 standard hours. Sabine addressed final logistical considerations with characteristic efficiency. Your equipment transfer requires specialized handling. My associate will coordinate delivery protocols through secure channels. This apparently routine coordination contains significant subtext, establishing secondary communication pathway outside potentially monitored conventional systems. R7 interfaced briefly with Sabine's equipment, exchanging encrypted authentication protocols ensuring secure information transfer for subsequent operational coordination. Following successful meeting conclusion, they departed through separate routes to maintain operational security, regrouping at temporary headquarters to analyze developments and adjust strategic planning accordingly. The secure transportation arrangement represented significant achievement, providing both practical mobility and potential alliance with resistance elements possessing valuable regional knowledge. She's Mandalorian trained but something more, Naruto observed once they had confirmed privacy for debriefing discussion. Her fighting stance integrated multiple discipline elements beyond traditional Beskid positioning Ahsoka identified. Her chakra circulation, or closest equivalent, shows unusual patterning, Hinata added, having observed with Byakugan during key interaction moments. Energy concentrate. Ions suggest specialized training beyond conventional combat systems. Sabine Wren has significant history within resistance movements, Ahsoka confirmed, sharing information deliberately withheld during initial meeting. Former Imperial Academy prodigy who defected after discovering weapons application of her engineering innovations. Her Mandalorian background combined with technical expertise makes her exceptionally valuable operative. This assessment elevated potential alliance beyond simple transportation logistics to strategic partnership with individuals possessing complementary capabilities and aligned objectives. While maintaining appropriate operational security regarding their interdimensional origins, closer cooperation would provide valuable advantages for navigating complex political landscape while pursuing information about ancient Force traditions connected to dimensional pathways. Their planning continued through remainder of the day, integrating new transportation capabilities into broader mission parameters while preparing necessary equipment and supplies for potential extended operation beyond immediate settlement vicinity. R7 maintained continuous monitoring of local information networks, providing updates regarding Imperial activity patterns and potential security concerns affecting departure timeline. Evening brought opportunity for cultural familiarization beyond immediate operational necessities as they explored settlement more comprehensively, observing diverse species interactions and technological applications fundamentally different from their home dimension. For Naruto and Hinata, the experience combined fascinating anthropological study with practical adaptation to environment they might navigate extensively during coming operations. Their exploration eventually brought them to Settlement's central marketplace during peak evening activity, a chaotic yet somehow harmonious confluence of countless cultural traditions expressed through commerce, entertainment, and social interaction. Vendors from dozens of worlds offered exotic merchandise ranging from practical technological components to purely aesthetic creations, while performance artists demonstrated cultural traditions spanning the galaxy's breadth. It's like every village festival combined into one constant celebration, Naruto observed, absorbing the vibrant sensory experience with characteristic appreciation for diverse cultural expression. Despite imperial standardization efforts, frontier regions maintain remarkable cultural diversity, Ahsoka explained, guiding them through particularly congested market sections with practiced ease. Economic necessity creates practical tolerance even among traditionally opposed groups. Their educational excursion used unexpectedly when Hinata's attention focused on specific market display featuring crystalline objects arranged in elaborate configuration. Her Byakugan activated momentarily, confirming initial impression that prompted immediate interest. Those crystals resonate similarly to the temple's meditation focus, she noted quietly. Energy signature suggests compatible properties with dimensional anchor materials. Closer examination confirmed her assessment. The vendor's collection included several specimens sharing distinctive resonance patterns with materials they had documented at the ancient temple. Most significantly, the arrangement suggested deliberate knowledge of their energetic properties rather than simply aesthetic presentation, with complementary specimens positioned to create harmonic reinforcement patterns. The vendor herself, an elderly female of unfamiliar species with translucent skin revealing complex circulatory structures, observed their interest with evident satisfaction. The crystals recognize worthy appreciation, she commented in heavily accented but understandable basic. Rare perception in casual marketplace visitors. This observation prompted careful conversation balancing genuine interest with appropriate discretion regarding their specific knowledge. The vendor, introducing herself as Vesalainaruin of Leth, demonstrated surprising familiarity with traditional force-sensitive crystal applications while avoiding direct reference to specific traditions or organizations. These specimens originated from meditation cave system predating current galactic calendar, she explained. Handling particular crystal with reverent care. Harmonic properties facilitate perception beyond conventional sensory limitations when properly attuned to individual energy patterns. Her description aligned remarkably with specific meditation techniques described in the ancient temple records, practices integrating force sensitivity with what appeared to be codified chakra circulation methodologies. Most significantly, she referenced historical tradition of boundary walkers, who utilized such crystals for perception across dimensional thresholds. The boundary walker tradition interests us particularly, Ahsoka noted carefully, observing the vendor's reaction to this specific terminology. Our research focuses on historical practices regarding perception of reality boundaries. The vendor's response reflected calculated assessment before deliberate disclosure decision. Serious scholarly interest deserves corresponding knowledge access. My regular business concludes at local midnight. Alternative discussion venue might accommodate more comprehensive information exchange. This invitation, delivered with deliberate neutrality despite significant content, clearly offered connection to knowledge sources beyond simple commercial transaction. After appropriate consideration of security implications, they arranged to return at specified time for continued conversation in more private setting. Their exploration continued with heightened awareness of potential additional connections throughout the settlement. This unexpected encounter suggesting possibility of surviving knowledge networks regarding interdimensional practices beyond formal historical records. Such traditional knowledge transmission would align with patterns observed in their home dimension, where certain techniques and information persisted through direct teaching lineages despite formal institutional disruption. As arranged meeting time approached, they implemented appropriate security protocols before returning to the marketplace, now significantly less crowded as local night cycle progressed toward traditional rest period. The vendor's stall appeared closed through conventional indicators, though subtle illumination suggested continued occupancy despite public business conclusion. Upon their approach, concealed entrance revealed itself through mechanism activated by the vendor's recognition of their return. The revealed passage led to subterranean chamber of surprising proportions, a circular space approximately 15 meters in diameter, illuminate D by crystalline formations embedded within stone walls that emitted soft, blue-tinted light. Central floor area featured inlaid mosaic depicting astronomical configuration immediately recognizable as dimensional transit diagrams similar to those documented in the ancient temple. Welcome, boundary walkers, Vesalainaruan greeted them with formal gesture significantly different from her marketplace demeanor. The crystals confirm your harmonic signatures as compatible with threshold perception tradition. This direct acknowledgement shifted conversation beyond preliminary assessment to subsaint antive exchange regarding interdimensional knowledge preserved through traditional lineages outside formal institutional structures. The vendor, or rather, knowledge keeper, explained her position with the tradition extending thousands of years through carefully maintained teaching succession despite periodic suppression by various political authorities including both republic and imperial governance. The balance seekers established multiple knowledge preservation pathways anticipating potential institutional disruption, she explained, activating the central mosaic through specialized crystal PP location that revealed additional pattern layers beyond initial visual presentation. Traditional lineages maintain practical techniques alongside historical context across generations despite formal organizational discontinuity. Most significantly, she recognized Naruto's unique energy signature as matching specific prophetic description maintained within their tradition, the harmony bearer, who would re-establish balanced connection between dimensional planes following extended separation period. This recognition, based on specialized perception techniques rather than simple historical knowledge, provided independent confirmation of the ancient scrolls' predictions regarding the Sage of Light and Shadow. Your arrival fulfills pattern sequence documented through 20 generations of threshold guardians, she stated with remarkable matter-of-factness despite extraordinary implications. Harmonic convergence between primary dimensional planes occurs within current stellar cycle after extended separation period. Their conversation continued deep into local night cycle, exchanging information regarding dimensional pathways, historical connection points, and most crucially, identified disruption patterns suggesting deliberate interference with natural dimensional boundaries. Vesalainaruan confirmed observation of increasing boundary instability corresponding with specific temporal markers, providing additional correlation with Ketsuki's activities identified through previous investigation. Boundary disruption accelerates beyond natural parameter variation, she explained, demonstrating through crystalline projection showing dimensional integrity measurements across extended time period. Deliberate manipulation rather than natural harmonic fluctuation. This dependent confirmation from knowledge tradition separated by dimensional boundary yet reaching identical conclusion regarding unnatural interference provided compelling validation of their concerns regarding Ketsuki's interdimensional ambitions. More significantly, it suggested coordination between manipulative elements in both dimensions, Ketsuki's organization apparently cooperating with Count R parts in this galaxy toward shared objective involving boundary destabilization. As their extraordinary information exchange concluded, Vesalainaruan presented specialized crystalline artifacts specifically designed for dimensional boundary perception, tools that would enhance their capability to identify manipulation attempts and potential incursion points. These artifacts, created through additional methods preserved within their lineage, represented practical application of theoretical knowledge exchanged during their conversation. The boundary walker tradition continues through your actions, she stated as formal conclusion to their meeting. Dimensional harmony requires balanced perspective incorporating wisdom from multiple reality planes. Their return to temporary headquarters proceeded with heightened awareness of expanded mission parameters, their expedition into this galaxy now incorporating responsibility toward interdimensional stability beyond simple information gathering or alliance building objectives. The knowledge preservation tradition Vesalainaruan represented offered valuable perspective regarding historical context for current dimensional instability, while providing practical tools for addressing immediate concerns regarding boundary manipulation. Morning brought final preparation for departure with Sabine Wren's vessel, scheduled for midday CYC. To optimize local security patrol patterns. R7 continued monitoring information networks, identifying concerning pattern in Imperial communication regarding specialized archaeological expedition deploying to location corresponding with another ancient balance seeker facility. Imperial operation utilizes unusual protocol authorization, the droid reported, displaying intercepted communication. Fragments with highlighted anomalous elements. Command structure outside standard Imperial hierarchy. Ketsuki's influence, Naruto concluded, recognizing operational pattern similarities despite different dimensional context. Same methodologies adapted to local administrative systems. This development accelerated their departure timeline, coordinating with Sabine through established secure channels to implement contingency scheduling options. Her response demonstrated professional flexibility alongside tactical adaptation capability, adjusting logistical arrangements without compromising operational security despite compressed preparation period. Their rendezvous occurred at secondary location rather than originally designated coordinates, a maintenance facility at settlement outs. IRTS providing both cover for equipment transfer and strategic departure positioning, minimizing official checkpoint interaction. Sabine greeted them with characteristic efficiency, directing equipment loading while briefing them on modified departure protocols. Imperial patrol pattern adjusted approximately 30 minutes ago, she explained, displaying tactical projection showing security deployment changes. Unusual mid-shift modification suggesting specific targeting parameters rather than routine adjustment. They're looking for something specific, Ahsoka observed, recognizing Tactica L implementation indicating intelligence-driven operation rather than standard security procedure. Or someone, Sabine confirmed with meaningful glance toward their group. Fortunately, alternative departure protocols exist for precisely such circumstances. Her vessel revealed itself as they entered secured hangar section, a modified Corellian engineering design combining cargo capacity with impressive propulsion systems and defensive capabilities disguised beneath unremarkable exterior. Most significantly, the ship featured specialized modifications beyond standard specifications, including G-sensor baffling technology and reconfigurable identification systems allowing adaptation to various operational scenarios. The Nightbreath, Sabine introduced with evident pride tinged with practical assessment. Not the fastest or most heavily armed vessel in the galaxy, but possibly the most adaptable for operations requiring flexible mission parameters. Boarding proceeded with efficient coordination. Their equipment secured in specialized cargo sections while personal gear integrated into living quarters designed for extended operation without external support. The vessel's interior reflected its owner's dual nature, practical military efficiency alongside artistic personality expressed through distinctive murals decorating corridor sections and common areas. Your artwork is remarkable, Hinata observed with genuine appreciation, studying particular mural depicting stylized warrior figures in complementary motion patterns reminiscent of traditional Hyuga clan symbolic representations. Art transcends utilitarian necessity, Sabine responded, unexpected philosophical depth beneath practical exterior. Beauty remains essential even within conflict contexts, perhaps especially then. Launch preparation continued with professional precision, R7 integrating with ship systems to enhance navigational capabilities while establishing secure communication protocols with their established contact network. Sabine's pre-flight procedures demonstrated formal training foundations beneath adapted personal methodology, systematic progression following essential safety parameters Heil incorporating experience-based modifications optimizing performance beyond standard specifications. Departure window approaches optimal parameters, she announced after completing final system verification. Recommend immediate launch sequence initiation to utilize current patrol configuration advantages. With collective agreement, launch procedures activated with remarkable smoothness despite complex coordination requirements. The vessel rose from concealed hangar through precisely calibrated ascension pattern minimizing energy signature detection probability, utilizing terrain phi2 res for additional sensor shadowing during initial atmospheric transition phase. Atmospheric exit proceeded without incident, their departure apparently unnoticed amid routine traffic patterns and Saint Radigic communication channel manipulation by R7's specialized protocols. As Jeddah diminished behind them, its distinctive surface features gradually resolving into planetary body against star-filled backdrop. Conversation naturally turned toward next operational phase implementing knowledge gained through their extraordinary information gathering. The ancient temple records combined with vessel Naruto's traditional knowledge indicate three primary locations containing critical information regarding dimensional boundary stability. Ahsoka summarized, displaying galactic projection highlighting identified coordinates. Most significantly, these locations contain specialized equipment designed for boundary reinforcement during periods of harmonic instability, which coincidentally matches exactly what we're experiencing now. Naruto observed, connecting historical records with current circumstances. Kenshin anticipated potential boundary degradation and created maintenance systems in both dimensions. The Empire's sudden interest in these same locations suggests Ketsuki's influence extends further than we initially estimated, Sabine added, displaying intercepted communicat ion records indicating coordinated archaeological expeditions to all three identified sites. Someone with significant authority has reprioritized these previously ignored locations for immediate exploration. Their collective analysis continued as the vessel transitioned to hyperspace, brilliant star elongation yielding to swirling blue tunnel effect representing faster-than-light travel. This extraordinary transportation method, commonplace to Ahsoka and Sabine yet remarkable to interdimensional visitors, provided practical demonstration of this galaxy's technological development priorities. Compared to chakra-focused advancement in the shinobi dimension, strategic planning continued throughout hyperspace transit, integrating newly acquired information with established mission parameters to develop comprehensive approach addressing interdimensional stability concerns. Each contributor offered specialized perspective, Naruto's intuitive problem-solving complementing Hinata's analytical precision. Ahsoka's galactic knowledge providing context for Sabine's tactical expertise, while R7's data processing capabilities supported comprehensive information integration. Their vessel emerged from hyperspace near unassuming star system featuring unremarkable planetary bodies according to standard cataloging systems. Detailed sensor analysis revealed artificial structure maintained in St. Abel orbit around gas giant's fourth moon, a facility of ancient design incorporating elements immediately recognizable from the temple architecture they had previously explored. Balance Seeker Observation Platform, Ahsoka identified, studying enhanced visual projection displaying the structure's distinctive design elements. Established during early expansion period for specialized astronomical research according to historical records. Current status indicates minimal power signature consistent with maintenance level operations, Sabine reported after comprehensive sensor sweep. No communication activity detected, though functional capability appears intact based on energy distribution patterns. Imperial presence, Hinata inquired, practical security consideration foremost despite evident scholarly interest in the extraordinary facility. Negative current occupation indicators, Sabine confirmed after secondary scanning protocol implementation. Though evidence suggests NT visitation within approximately 72 standard hours. This assessment prompted tactical approach prioritizing information gathering alongside security consideration. The facility's apparent abandoned status presented both opportunity and potential concern, access to valuable historical information without immediate confrontation, yet uncertainty regarding previous visitors' activities and possible monitoring systems left behind. Docking procedures initiated through ancient but still functional automated systems, the vessel establishing secure connection with facility's primary access point. Environmental assessment confirmed breathable atmosphere maintained through remarkably durable life support systems despite centuries of minimal maintenance, though temperature regulations show significant variance from standard comfort parameters. The balance seekers built for permanence, Ahsoka observed as they prepared for facility exploration. Their engineering principles emphasize sustainability through extreme duration rather than optimal short-term efficiency. Initial entry team consisted of Naruto, Ahsoka, and R7, while Hinata and Sabine maintained secure position aboard. Rode the vessel with appropriate response capabilities should complications develop. This balanced approach provided both exploration effectiveness and strategic reserve ensuring operational continuity regardless of initial contact outcomes. The facility's interior revealed remarkable preservation despite centuries of minimal occupancy, functional lighting systems activating in response to their presence. Environmental controls adjusting to accommodate detected life forms, and most significantly, information systems maintaining operational status despite extended dormancy periods. Ancient yet sophisticated technology responded to R7's careful interface attempts, displaying star charts and research data compiled through millennia of astronomical observation focused specifically on dimensional boundary monitoring. This facility was designed for exactly what we need, Naruto realized as they accessed Central Observation Chamber featuring elaborate projection system displaying real-time analysis of dimensional boundary integrity throughout nearby space, continuous monitoring of boundary stability across multiple sectors, and recording historical patterns for comparative analysis, Ahsoka added. Studying data displays showing dimensional stability measurements extending back centuries. Perfect baseline for identifying unnatural manipulation versus standard fluctuation patterns. Their exploration continued with increasing appreciation for the facility's sophisticated design and extraordinary preservation. Central Computer Systems maintained comprehensive records regarding dimensional boundary research conducted by generations of balance seekers, including theoretical models for boundary reinforcement during periods of harmonic instability. Most significantly, they disk over detailed documentation regarding specialized equipment designed specifically for boundary stabilization, devices created through integration of force-sensitive technology with principles recognizable as modified versions of Uzumaki sealing techniques. These harmonic stabilizers had been distributed throughout both galaxies at locations corresponding to natural boundary convergence points, creating network of reinforcement nodes maintaining dimensional separation while allowing controlled interaction through specifically designed access protocols. This matches Kenshin's design in our dimension, Naruto observed, recognizing fundamental principles underlying the technology despite significant adaptation to local materials and energy systems. Different implementation but identical. Core concept: balanced reinforcement maintaining necessary separation while allowing beneficial exchange. Their discoveries continued as R7 accessed increasingly detailed technical specifications for the stabilization network, revealing both its extraordinary scope and current compromised status. According to automated monitoring systems, multiple stabilization nodes had experienced unauthorized interference within recent time period corresponding to Ketsuki's known activities in the shinobi dimension. Coordinated disruption pattern, Ahsoka concluded after studying temporal correlation between recorded interference events. Simultaneous manipulation of corresponding nodes in both dimensions. This confirmation of coordinated action across dimensional boundaries elevated concern regarding Ketsuki's capabilities and potential allies within this galaxy. Such sophisticated interdimensional cooperation required both technical expertise and strategic coordination beyond individual operation, suggesting organizational structure with significant resources and long-term planning capability. Their information gathering accelerated with this concerning revelation, R7 extracting comprehensive technical specifications for the stabilization network alongside historical maintenance protocols and theoretical models for addressing current disruption patterns. Most Valuable Discovery Inc. Flooded restoration procedures for compromised stabilization nodes, technical processes requiring specialized knowledge and materials but potentially implementable with resources available through their growing alliance network. As extraction procedures neared completion, perimeter sensors detected approaching vessel utilizing stealth technology significantly beyond standard Imperial configurations. Immediate tactical reassessment shifted priority toward secure withdrawal with acquired information rather than potential confrontation with unknown force potentially representing Ketsuki's galactic allies. Departure window narrowing rapidly, Sabine reported through secure communication channel, vessel systems already initiating disengagement procedures from facility docking connection. Rico, MEND immediate extraction to maintain information security priority. Their withdrawal proceeded with practiced efficiency, R7 completing final data transfer while Naruto and Ahsoka implemented approach. Appropriate security measures ensuring pursuers would encounter significant delays attempting to determine exactly what information had been accessed. These precautions, while unable to prevent eventual discovery of their activities, provided critical time advantage for implementing countermeasures based on acquired technical specifications. Vessel departure executed through precisely calculated trajectory utilizing gas giant's gravitational field for initial acceleration while minimizing energy signature detectable by pursuit craft. Sabine's exceptional piloting skills combined with vessel specialized modifications created performance envelope exceeding standard specifications by significant margin, establishing crucial distance advantage before pursuing vessel-cleared facility docking parameters. Pursuit vessel configuration suggests specialized design beyond standard Imperial Navy classification, Sabine reported, displaying enhanced sensor analysis of their follower. Performance. Characteristics indicate custom modification for extended independent operation. Ketsuki's ally, Naruto concluded, recognizing operational pattern despite different technological implementation. Same approach he uses with specialized teams in our dimension, customized equipment for specific mission parameters outside standard organizational constraints. Tactical options assessment proceeded rapidly as hyperspace calculations prepared for implementation. Direct confrontation presented unnecessary risk given information security priority, while standard evasion techniques might prove ensue. Phaciant against specialized pursuit vessel demonstrating advanced technological capabilities. Recommend unconventional approach, Hinata suggested after studying tactical display with Byakugan Enna. NCED perception identifying subtle energy configuration patterns within pursuing vessel. Their propulsion system demonstrates specific harmonic vulnerability that standard tactical doctrine wouldn't identify. This observation, based on unique perceptual capability transcending conventional sensor limitations, provided unexpected tactical advantage. Sabine implemented suggested countermeasure WI/TH professional appreciation for innovative approach, precisely calibrated energy pulse targeting identified vulnerability without requiring direct weapons engagement that might attract additional attention from regional Imperial forces. The resulting disruption created sufficient pursuit delay for successful hyperspace transition, their vessel disappearing into faster-than-light corridor while RSUERS addressed temporary propulsion system instability. This elegant solution maintained operational security while avoiding escalation that might compromise longer-term strategic objectives. Space transit provided opportunity for comprehensive analysis of acquired information alongside integration into expanded strategic planning. The technical specifications for dimensional boundary stabilization represented crucial advancement in addressing Ketsuki's interdimensional manipulation, while historical records provided valuable context regarding previous boundary instability events and successful mitigation methodologies. Most significantly, their discoveries confirmed fundamental connection between the Force and Chakra as different manifestations of identical cosmic energy, theoret. ICAL framework Kenshin Uzumaki had identified millennia earlier and integrated into both Jedi foundational principles and specialized balance seeker methodologies. This connection explained Naruto's natural affinity for Force techniques alongside Ahsoka's surprising adaptability to Chakra concepts despite their different dimensional origins. The Sage of Light and Shadow prophecy appears in multi-PLE forms throughout Balance Seeker records, Ahsoka noted after reviewing historical documentation extracted from the facility. Always describing individual capable of harmonizing dual energy express science during period of dimensional instability. Interdimensional balancing function rather than conventional chosen one narrative, Sabine observed with characteristic analytical precision despite relatively recent introduction to these extraordinary concepts. Practical cosmic maintenance role rather than mystical savior archetype. This perspective resonated with Naruto's evolving understanding of his connection to both energy systems, less predestined messiah role than specialized capability development addressing specific interdimensional requirement. The responsibility remained significant yet somehow more approachable through this practical framing, focusing on tangible objectives rather than abstract destiny fulfillment. Their hyperspace journey continued toward coordinates identified through comprehensive analysis as optimal location for implementing initial boundary stabilization protocols, ancient balance seeker facility containing specialized equipment necessary for synchronizing stabilization efforts across dimensional boundaries. While Imperial interest in these locations created potential complications, their information advantage combined with specialized team abilities provided reasonable operational success probability. As brilliantly illuminated hyperspace corridor surrounded their vessel, conversation naturally evolved toward deeper implications of the IR discoveries alongside practical implementation strategies. The dimensional boundary stabilization represented immediate priority addressing current crisis, yet broader implications regarding ongoing relationship between realities presented longer-term considerations transcending tactical objectives. Kenshin Uzumaki envisioned balanced interaction between dimensions, Naruto observed, studying. Historical documentation describing original stabilization network design philosophy. Not complete separation or unrestricted merging, but harmonized exchange preserving distinct evolutionary paths, while allowing beneficial knowledge transfer. Balance rather than dominance, Ahsoka agreed, recognizing philosophical alignment with her own evolved understanding transcending traditional Jedi doctrine without embracing Sith extremism. Respecting natural boundaries while acknowledging fundamental interconnection. This shared philosophical framework strengthened their operational alignment beyond immediate tactical cooperation, establishing foundation for potential long-term relationship between dimensions based on mutual respect rather than exploitation or isolation. Such balanced approach directly countered whatever Ketsuki intended through his boundary manipulation efforts, providing ethical framework guiding their technical countermeasures implementation. Their journey continue through hyperspace toward next critical location, carrying not just technical specifications and historical knowledge but evolving understanding of their shared responsibility toward interdimensional harmony. The Sage of Light and Shadow prophecy, interpreted through this balanced perspective, represented not predetermined fate but practical response to specific cosmic requirement, harmonic resonance between dimensions maintained through conscious cooperation rather than mystical intervention. Naruto gazed at the swirling hyperspace corridor surrounding their vessel, its hypnotic patterns so reminiscent of chakra flow visualizations from meditation techniques. This galaxy with its extraordinary technology and diverse civilizations existed alongside his own dimension, neither superior nor inferior but complementary, different expressions of cosmic possibility evolving along distinct paths yet fundamentally connected through underlying energy patterns Kenshin Uzumaki had discovered millennia earlier. We're approaching the dimensional anchor point that corresponds to the Land of Iron Sight, he realized, sensing familiar resonance despite vast physical separation. I can feel he connection, like standing in two places simultaneously while remaining fully present in each. This observation highlighted his evolving sensitivity to interdimensional relationships, practical manifestation of the Sage of Light and Shadow capabilities described in ancient prophecies. Not mystical transcendence but practical perception of fundamental connections existing beyond conventional sensory limitations, providing essential foundation for the boundary stabilization work ahead. As their vessel prepared for hyperspace exit near their next destination, team members finalized preparation for whatever challenges awaited, technical implementation requirements, potential hostile encounters, and most fundamentally, evolving understanding of their shared responsibility toward maintaining cosmic balance transcending individual dimensional concerns. Whatever Ketsuki intended through his boundary manipulation efforts, they now possessed both technical knowledge and philosophical framework for effective countermeasures implementation. The stars returned to normal configuration as hyperspace transition completed, revealing distant planetary body orbiting unremarkable star, seemingly ordinary location hiding extraordinary interdimensional significance. Sensor analysis confirmed presence of ancient facility similar to previous discovery, though energy configuration suggested active operation rather than dormant maintenance status. Someone's already there, Sabine reported, displaying enhanced scan results indicating recent modifications to original systems. Power signature show WS activation of systems dormant for centuries according to historical operation records. Ketsuki's allies implementing whatever interdimensional manipulation they've planned, Naruto concluded, sensing disturbance in the dimensional boundaries surrounding the facility. We need to move quickly before they destabilize another section of the boundary network. Their approach incorporated lessons from previous encounter, utilizing specialized stealth protocols while implementing sensor countermeasures against potential detection systems. Sabine's exceptional piloting skills combined with Vessel's advanced modifications created approach vector minimizing detection probability while maximizing tactical options upon arrival. Whatever happens next, Naruto addressed his companions as they prepared for this critical engagement. We're facing it together. Not just as tactical team but as representatives of both dimensions working toward shared future where balance prevails over dominance. That's what Kenshin Uzumaki envisioned when he created these systems, and that's what we'll protect regardless of whatever Ketsuki and his allies intend. This simple yet profound statement establishes head operational philosophy transcending immediate tactical objectives, commitment to interdimensional harmony rather than mere opposition to specific adversary. The Sage of Light and Shadow role, understood through this balanced perspective, represented ongoing responsibility toward cosmic maintenance rather than predestined confrontation narrative. Their vessel continued its approach toward the ancient facility where crucial phase of their interdimensional mission would unfold, not final confrontation but significant advancement in understanding and addressing the boundary manipulation threatening both dimensions. Whatever challenges awaited, they faced them with complementary capabilities, shared purpose, and evolving appreciation for the delicate balance between worlds that Kenshin Uzumaki had recognized millennia earlier. Chapter 3 End. The End. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.